past the halfway mark of the regular season. The field skies up to the northeast in a date with a concrete monster and a challenge in that run for the playoffs. We're live from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway in Dover, Delaware. We welcome you to the 7th race in Season 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series and the Monster Mile 170. Welcome to our monstrous coverage live on Podium Esports, where alongside Joey Atterbury in the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. We'll have Ryan Bauer producing all the shots you're seeing this evening. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And talking before we started the show, Joey, about this track, it is so abrasive, so tough to drive. It can provide an immense challenge for everyone behind the wheel. And so going here at this point of the regular season where things are starting to ramp up coming toward playoff time, it's going to mean big things once we cross that checkered flag this evening.
There's a reason why it's called the Monster Mile. The speeds are crazy high, the banking is way up there, and if you've ever visited this place, you know how loud it is inside that racetrack, and it's going to get even louder when we unleash 40 of these cars for the green flag. I can't think of a better kind of halfway track here in the season, because this really is an intimidating track. You will see the cream rise to the top.
And race 7 of 13 regular season races. Of course, we still have a while before we get to Daytona, and then we'll start the playoffs. But like you said, we're right about halfway. Things are starting to really intensify. Here's a look at our Season 6 schedule for 2023. We've checked off all the other tracks up until race number 7. We're here at Dover Motor Speedway tonight. And then next week, we head over to America's Heartland, Kansas Speedway. Again, that run with all the races highlighted in blue, Joey, that's the run to the playoffs up until all the ones highlighted in yellow. And this is big because Dover, it's the first time we see this track, and it's going to be the same thing for practically every venue we see this season. It's only going to be one time and one time only. So if you're a driver like somebody in the back of the field or somebody in the extra half of the point standings, you probably want to make sure that you make this race the most that you can in the positive way, build some points, or maybe even get a win to lock yourself in the postseason.
Well, like you said, we're right here kind of smack in the middle, round 7 of that 13 race regular season, if you will. And you're right, not any repeats on the schedule. And right now, I feel like this points championship is starting to take shape. And yeah, you're kind of rolling the ball down the hill from here. Who can be the most consistent and advance their way into those playoffs?
Well, we had last week a new driver get to victory lane in the form of Aaron Adcock for Big Fish Motorsports. So we might be able to see a brand new winner. We're joined by a driver who's still looking for win number 1 in Season 6, and that is the driver of the number 7 machine, Chris Progar. First of all, Chris, some beautiful colors on your Chevrolet Camaro this evening. I love the paint scheme, but I have to ask you, now that we're stepping into Dover, halfway through the regular season, what's your mindset looking like, and how are you going to try to attack Miles the Monster properly this evening?
Well, good evening, and thank you. I appreciate it. Put a little work in the thing. Basically, I got to keep approaching it the way I have the beginning of the season. You know, Talladega and Vegas kind of stunk as far as finishes go. I got caught up in some wrecks late, you know, but it wasn't for lack of driving. I've been able to get up towards the top 10, which is where I want to be finishing. So I just have to make sure that I'm putting down as clean of a race as I can. You know, take the risks when I can, when they're, you know, they're high quality, high percentage passes, that kind of thing. But for the most part, just keep it in the pocket and take what's given.
And how do you balance that aggression at a track like Dover? You finished 15th the last time we were here after starting 24th. What does it take to go around this track with a balanced mindset and be able to take advantage, like you said, of those opportunities when they show up?
Well, you got to be really methodical around this track. I mean, coming off a 2 and coming off a 4, you know, that transfer will get the car loose and you end up in the wall. So you have to make sure you just keep it in there and keep the car under control under acceleration, and, you know, take care of your tires. You know, we've got 5 sets tonight, so, you know, if there's cautions or something like that, come down, get some fresh Goodyears. But for the most part, just gotta treat them nice.
And so now that we get into the second half of this regular season, we're looking at Kansas, Darlington, Charlotte, Gateway, Watkins Glen, and then Daytona. Is this just kind of a one-time, you know, make the most out of each and every single race, or is it just sort of still a build-up throughout this second half so that at least when you go into playoff time, you have a lot of momentum on your side?
I think if I can just keep putting down solid finishes, that I think will take care of it. I mean, I don't have the speed to match like Mario or Lawson or those guys, but I think if I can maximize every night, if I can just come out here every Sunday night and get the most out of what I can, I should be able to at least make the playoffs and hopefully the round of 12.
Consistency going to be key in these last couple of races. Chris, thank you so much for joining us as always, and wishing you the best of luck here in the Monster Mile 170. We'll let you get to it.
All right, thanks. Have a good night.
Chris Progar in the 7 for TOW Racing. Currently pretty far down the running order in practice, but of course it's still practice time, so a lot of time left, and obviously the qualifying still left to go. We'll talk to his teammate, the driver of the number 18, and that is Parker Bland, also for the same team, TOW Racing. And Parker, gonna ask you the same thing I asked Chris about this halfway mark of the regular season. Dover, probably a really big challenge for you and everybody else in this field. What's your mindset, and what are you thinking about prior to tonight's race?
Well, I don't really have speed, so I kind of just want to not wreck the car like I usually do here.
All right, I think fair. Monster Mile is very monstrous. It's very crazy. But this track here, very tough. You carry a lot of speed through the corners. Is there any way that you've been able to kind of find little tidbits, things throughout practice that might help you towards race time, or are you just kind of going in blind still and maybe setting the foundation once we get that first stage complete?
Kind of a little bit blind right now. I kind of learned this track more like mid-race, and then I start getting quicker, but I shouldn't be slow enough to have like long run pace.
All right, well, certainly so. Now we look to the last couple of races of this regular season. Currently not top 20 in points, but like we saw last week, anything could happen. New winners could still rise out of the fold. So for you, what's that looking like? What's your expectations looking like? Not only tonight at Dover, but once we get to Darlington, Kansas, Charlotte, Gateway, Watkins Glen, Daytona to close off the regular season.
I think my plan right now, I have to win probably a race to get into the playoffs, since I'll miss Nashville going to the Chicago street course race. So gotta try and find a win somehow.
All right, well, nonetheless, we'll let you get to it, let you put in some more practice laps. I know qualifying is just a little bit. So Parker, best of luck. We appreciate the time, and again, good luck tonight from Dover.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Parker Bland, the Luscious Locks, on behalf of our good friend Devin Henry. You would say that all the time when we were broadcast together this series. But back to you, Joey. I mean, I think learning from what we heard from those drivers is that this track is very tough, no doubt about it. And the biggest thing might just be, like it was at Talladega, keep your nose clean, make sure you don't get involved in incidents. And you brought a great point that we have 40 cars in the field tonight. One car wads it up, we might have a huge pileup. It is really tough to get out of trouble. It is really tough to get around this track by yourself. And as we look at our track backs, it just kind of makes us a little more scared, and it makes the drivers a little more intimidated, because it's a really hard track to drive correctly.
It is a monster of a racetrack. We're taking a look at it right here. A mile in length, 24 degrees on the bankings. It is very steep out there. And let me tell you, it really drops off down into turn 1 and turn 3. You got to charge the car in there and really trust that it's coming out. And something unique to this racetrack, it is a concrete surface out there, which is a little bit different than some of the other surfaces that they race on. But yeah, I think the name of the game here tonight is that if you don't have the speed, just stay clean and watch out there. You don't have to be the cause of it, but you can easily be collected in something.
That's true. There's not a lot of space here at Dover Motor Speedway, so you'll have to keep that in mind as well. Here's our race analysis for tonight's Monster Mile 170. We go 170 laps, exactly 170 miles, and just at 272 kilometers. Stages go like this: 50 apiece for stage 1 and stage 2. Our final stage will go 70 laps up until our wave of the checkered flag. Remember, last week at Talladega, way different because it was a way bigger track and a super speedway. We only had one stage in the middle of the event. Tonight, we just go back to standardized stage structure. We have 3 green-white checkered attempts, of course, if we need them near the end of the event. No fast repairs given to the drivers, and of course, everything in this Sunoco Cup Series for the field is fixed setup. Now, again, we do talk about the drivers that have made their way into the playoffs, those that are still yearning for a spot into the postseason. And Joey, we have to talk about last week and how it may set the trend for the rest of the season. Aaron Adcock finally got to victory lane. It was his first career Sunoco Cup Series win at Talladega, he joins the list of the other 4 drivers, Curtis Kelly, Steven Stempian, Ross Harlow, and Mario Miranda, to make the playoffs. So now it could just give that extra bit of confidence maybe to those guys like a Jesse Whittington, who's topping practice right now, and others who don't have a win this season, to go out and get their own, go for the playoffs, and turn the intensity up at this stage.
I agree with you. And looking at those practice times, I only saw one driver inside the top 5 that is a previous winner this season, and that was Steven Stempian. So I think there's plenty of names out there that we need to be watching out for at Dover, and not just at Dover, that will advance them into the playoffs, like you were saying.
Exactly. And looking through practice, Jesse Whittington, Logan Sturgeon, 2 of the drivers for SheriffStrafe.com Racing, near the top of the charts. We'll see if they can replicate the same success by the time we get into qualifying, which has just started right now. Got a couple of drivers on track, and this is the number 43, Sean Kalis, in his Ford Mustang, driver for SK Sim Racing. Gonna hop into 3 and 4, and we'll try to take this first lap. But Joey, you go around this concrete oval, and then you can kind of feel how bumpy and how tough it is, especially when you're getting out of turn 4. You rise up the hill, and you take the green flag for one of now 2 laps for qualifying.
Well, I mentioned kind of the elevation, if you will, the drop off and climbs out of turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but you're right. The concrete surface, it is not even out there. You see the slabs of it, and they all come together, and it makes for a bumpy surface. Couple that with the crazy high speeds these cars are running, and yeah, hold on tight.
It's really tough. You're watching Kalis right now putting in the laps, not necessarily all the way at the bottom of the racetrack, but as we'll watch tonight in this race, we will see a lot of drivers diamonding the corner. So they're kind of wash up in the middle of the corner, but they'll try and arc it down low, carry the speed at the exit as they're going up the hill, and then that'll give them some shaved off lap time. And for Sean Kalis right now, it's good enough for the pole. Quick time. At the moment, Dakota Curtis had held that spot. Now you look at Steven Stempian, driver for 0G, and one that has already picked up a win this season via the one at Las Vegas just a couple of weeks ago, looking for win number 2. And Stempian, Joey, very fast in practice, right behind Jesse Whittington. So Stempian, as he crosses the line, it is top of the board, 22.928.
And I was watching those practice times. If you were hovering in those 2290s, you know, you were looking pretty good. So I'm curious if anybody's going to break into the 80s.
And we might see that happen. Here's Ross Harlow in the 5 machine for SKM Racing. Didn't see him last week as he was not on the eligible list from Talladega. But nice to see him back, and of course he already has the win this season, and that was at a short track, Richmond Raceway, on April 2nd. So of course Ross knows a thing or two about winning at these tough to drive short tracks, and riding the high side exiting turn 4. We'll try and cross for this lap, and we'll see exactly what Ross Harlow can put down. A little more at ease though for sure, Joey, is a driver that's already in the playoffs, and those that we talked about that are still looking for win number 1 this season, they're kind of getting a little more antsy. The point standings are starting to matter more and more with each and every passing week. For Ross Harlow, he just missed last week. Is all right, I'm not going to deal with the chaos at Talladega. I'll come back at the short track here at Dover. I'll run my race in as the 5. Crosses the line. That is a time good enough for second, 22.962. It's here's Jesse Whittington getting ready to put in his first lap of qualifying.
And speaking on Harlow's part there, it's funny how much pressure can kind of relieve what you're seeing on the racetrack. Sometimes once you make that win and you realize you don't have to have that weight on your shoulders anymore, you actually perform better. And Ross Harlow up there provisionally on the front row.
You kind of have a little bit of the pressure off you, and you just like kind of go for it. And Ross Harlow, second on the charts. Here's Jesse Whittington, of course, the driver who did top the charts in practice. He'll cross the line for his first lap. That's a 23.298. So that will put him inside the top 15 for certain, but it looks like the second lap is going to be faster. Scrub the outside wall, and that's going to be tough to recover from. Not sure if this lap is going to count for Whittington. If it does not, that could be very detrimental as drivers continue to put times in qualifying. Right now, sitting 14th beneath Judd Danielson and Sean Kalis. And pretty good, solid qualifying effort here, Joey, for the 2 SK Sim Racing Fords, the 43 and the 85, 12th and 13th. As here's Wyatt Brackett taking his time on the track.
I love this theme out here. Got some Scooby action on the car. It's pretty amusing to watch it go through Dover. up and out of turn 2. And I think that it's going to be a talking point all night, Kenneth, is that funnel that really comes out of turn 2. It doesn't seem to happen as much out of turn 4, but when you get cars side by side racing, there's a huge natural funnel out of turn 2.
Yeah, and really you can tell just how much the track changes when you get out of that funnel. As here's Logan Sturgeon, the teammate of Jesse Whittington for SheriffStrafe.com Racing. Of course, a newly rebranded team. They were once Redline Racing for a little while, and then obviously changed last week at Talladega and had a really, really great ending to that one. Logan Sturgeon, a pillar in the effort that sent Aaron Adcock, the 23 car, to victory lane for his first Sunoco Cup Series win. Sturgeon very happy after that race at Dega, was really cooperative with that number 23, and so Sturgeon looking for a win of his own. Still, of course, trying to capture win number 1. He's 26 on the charts right now, but that'll quickly change, and that'll be inside the top 10, Joey. P6, 23 flat.
Yeah, nice lap there from the number 26 of Logan Sturgeon as we hop over to the 47 of Isaac Mock as he tries to lay down what will be his first lap time. And Kenneth, this is something that I'm noticing here. The first lap, definitely not the fast one. It's kind of the banker, and then it kind of warms up and gets to speed on lap number 2.
Yeah, it looks like the second lap seems to be better for a majority of the field, which was a really big contrast from last week. We had most of the drivers putting in their best laps on lap 1, and as the 47 of Isaac Mock crosses the start-finish line, he'll put in a time that's so far good enough for P18 as it stands. And there's Aaron Adcock, last week's winner. No worries about playoff running. He's going to be in it by the time we start it in just a couple of weeks' time later this summer. And so the 23 will get out of turn 4. Across the line, it looks like that is 23.194. That should be good enough for P16 on the racetrack. And nobody yet, Joey, has been able to stomp Steven Steppien's 22.927. So definitely for certain that 81 with a lot of speed. Ross Harlow, Colin Forster, and those other two rounding out the top 3, as I believe that was Austin Shoemaker coming to a stop. And he's put in a time for 34th, although he's going to get back out there.
It looks like he will, as well as Garrett Brown just completing his second lap as well. He jumps up with a great 23.12 into 11th place.
Yeah, really, really good qualifying effort. As Austin Shoemaker, I think he just hit the outside wall, rather the inside wall, coming out of turn 2. I think he'll try and reattempt his second qualifying lap. There's Warren Kyle Keith in the number 24. Driver we have talked about significantly and was kind of my pick to win last week at Talladega. Unfortunately, got knocked into the checkered flag first. But at this point, for Second Keith Motorsports 24, still looking for a win number 1 and some new colors this evening. Definitely love the new paint schemes, and I know, Joey, we kind of take it for granted, these leagues, whenever we cover them, is that it kind of shows off creativity. These drivers can put in their fantasy schemes, have sponsors of their own, and put in some really good designs that end up out on the racetrack and we get to see. So first time we see Budweiser on the car for the number 24, Warren Kyle Keith. We'll see what he can do on this next lap.
I agree with you, Kenneth. I think the creativity is one of the neat parts in iRacing, and you don't have to be an artist to have Photoshop and design some pretty cool liveries, and you can take inspiration from anywhere, and you really see some excellent designed liveries on these cars.
Yeah, that's true. I know I'm not a great designer by any means necessary, but looking at these drivers, it kind of inspires me a little bit. Here's the 88 of Justin Winters, who's now coming for his qualifying time. And the last time we were here at Dover Motor Speedway, and that number 88 of Justin Winters, I'm not sure whether he had necessarily a great race by any stretch of the imagination. I don't necessarily see his name on the charts. Last time we were here, Alex Muscarella, however, was in that race, and he finished second after starting 29th behind the eventual winner in Mario Miranda, who, by the way, sitting 5th on the charts as it stands. And Muscarella so far putting in a time good enough for 36, a 23.665, but it just looks like he'll probably improve significantly on this second trip around the 1 mile circuit. Crosses the line. Will it improve? Yes, but not by much. 23.644, and that's going to bury him in 35th. As here's Chris Progar.
Yeah, Chris Progar was one of the competitors that we were talking to just before the show here, and he's actually just starting his first qualifying lap. Looks like he'll be able to sneak these both in just in time.
Looks like he'll get it. There's about 35 roughly or so seconds left in queue. So Progar just waiting it out as far as he can before he puts in these two. He's going to put in the first 23.438. And so far, that is going to be 40th on the racetrack right now. Of course, we did talk with Progar just a couple of moments ago and talked about wanting to get some good finishes and just trying to be as consistent and clean as possible. And it looks like now it's going to jump up to 33rd on the charts with his first lap as he comes out of turn 4. Gets eerily close to that outside safer barrier. This time will the lap improve? Yes, significantly. 23.171, and that should have put him 17th on the racetrack, so almost directly in the middle of the field, Joey. And I think it was kind of interesting to see how these different drivers made through their qualifying laps, whether they ran all the way up high, whether they ran all the way down low and hugged it all the way around. It was pretty cool to see.
I think that the story of qualifying was definitely lap number 2, and I think if everyone knew that, they would probably go that high line around that warm-up lap and really ring it out, knowing that the number 2 lap was the important one.
All right, well, drivers have put in their best 2 laps, and they're right behind the iRacing official pace car, which means it's our time to take you through your starting grid in this Monster Mile 170 from Dover Motor Speedway. Steven Stepien lines it up on pole. Nobody can best his time in qualifying at 22.927. He'll be the first to see the green, looking for win number 2 in his campaign. Ross Harlow, the winner from Richmond earlier this season, will join him in row number 1. Rookie Colin Forrester continues to impress and still looking for win number 1 of this season. Lawson Peel, defending series champion, will be on the outside in P4. That's row number 2 for you. Row number 3, you'll find Mario Miranda for 0G in the 99. Logan Sturgeon with a fantastic qualifying effort and picks up right where he left off in practice. Certainly P6. Dakota Wilson, great qualifying effort for him. Didn't talk about the 78, but he starts in 7th. Brandon Banks will roll off in 8th. Richard Swavely will be behind him in P9. Joined alongside by Wyatt Brackett, the last driver, Joey Atterbury, to round out your top 10.
Yeah, next to him there is Garrett Brown in 11th place. Brian Kendall here in 12th, rounding out row 6. Zach Wilson 13th with Chris Shoemaker next to him in row 7. Then we got Gary Sexton and Joe Sanchez rounding out row 8. Chris Progar here in 17th place and Aaron Adcock next to him. Judd Danielson and Bill Schoonover rounding out row 10.
And behind them, Justin Winters in the number 21 is 20, or the 88 is 21st rather. Sean Kalis for SK Sim Racing is 22nd. Justin Erb will be 23rd. Isaac Mock alongside him in the 47 in 24th. That's row number 12. Row number 13 will be Jesse Whittington in the number 94. Kip Easley alongside for Nitro Motorsports in 26th. Casey Knighton is 27th. Joseph Mohart in the number 46 alongside in 28th. League owner Dakota Curtis is 29th. Rounding out your top 30 will be the number 19 of Brad Fulham.
Then we got Justin Miller here lined up with Travis Stevens next to him. Dustin Reeves in 33rd. Kevin Hurley next to him. Charles Feltz in 35th along with Alex Muscarella. Then we have Parker Bland way back here in row 18, as well as Ray Rogers. And then the last 2, Warren Kyle Keith and Austin Shoemaker in row number 20.
Our 40-car field here from Dover Motor Speedway. And just as a quick note, before we get the green flag, 2 drivers getting end-of-the-line penalties for, it looks like, disconnecting after the drivers' meeting. So it will be handed out to the number 2, Travis Stevens, and to the 25 of Kevin Hurley. Both of them going to have to start from the rear of tonight's field. It's a beautiful afternoon here in Dover, Delaware. Track tap at 1:15, so it is eerily crisp here at the concrete surface, and air temp at around 79 degrees. It's a partly cloudy afternoon. Winds to the north at 2 miles an hour and going green just past 2 p.m. in sim time. Ready for the green for the 7th time in Season 6. It'll be Steven Stepien and Ross Harlow to lead the field out of turn 4 and bring us underway in the Monster Mile 170 from Dover Motor Speedway. no time wasted for Ross Harlow. Leads lap number 1, brings Lawson Peel with him. Stempian, your pole sitter, drops back to 3rd as they absolutely outcharged him in the first 2 corners, and now all single file heading for turn 3.
Little top 5 kind of breakaway with the front 4 packed really tight. Coming off of turn number 4, I'm seeing the 99 of Mario Miranda. That's the 5th place car, just kind of hanging on to this group.
And the winner last time we were here at Dover Motor Speedway, it was a longer race last time we were here back in May of 2022. It was 200 laps, and Miranda led at more than half of those, 103 on his way to victory. Miranda, of course, still looking for another win in this season. He is currently the points leader, so obviously the most consistent driver, rather going to say his 3rd win of the season after picking up 2 a couple of weeks back, as he kind of falls back in this top 4, all of them in a breakaway train at a turn 2. It looks like nobody really battling at this stage of the race, Joey. It looks like Chris Shoemaker and Ryan Kendall going at it for 14th, but other than that, looks like the general consensus is already set. Run these laps single file, run these laps clean, no need for trouble in this first stage.
As we jump back on board with Gary Sexton, you see what it's like a little bit further back in the pack here. Got cars in front, cars just behind, and I agree with you, Kenneth. I think these competitors, they're just kind of running some laps right now, but as I say that, looks like we got a battle for the lead.
We do. Nose on the inside, and the door shut. Ross Harlow eliminated any attempt by Lawson Peel to get to the inside. It was a beautiful run out of turn 2 for the 12 car. Tried to look down low, could not hang in the middle of the corner, and then tried it again in turn 1. But Ross Harlow said, no way, I am not giving up the inside lane to let you take this lead away, especially in the middle of clean air. And that's one thing that we're probably going to harp on as well, Joey, throughout tonight's race, and it's kind of something that we may have noticed at Richmond earlier in this season, is that this track isn't necessarily multi-groove. You're not going to find drivers way up on the outside of the racetrack because you're not going to make any speed up there. You're probably going to see those first and second lines really matter the most for speed, and so everybody running single file, you're going to have a heap of dirty air if you're running in a single file train. And so clean air at the front for Ross Harlow, probably the most important thing to keep rather than just pure lap time or pace.
Yeah, but look who's joining him now. Steven Stempian in 2nd place. He got around Lawson Peel there in turns 1 and 2 that previous lap, and we got to remember that 81 was our pole sitter. So I think Steven Stempian trying to go up there and get that clean air for himself.
Going to try to get there. He finished 25th the last time we were here at Dover, started inside the top 10. And so Stempian kind of looking for a little bit of redemption. 2 of the cameras on the bottom side of your screen. Left side, you see Stempian, and on the right side, you see Ross Harlow. Both of them going at it for the race lead right now. Ross Harlow, a previous champion in the Sunoco Cup Series. Stempian still yearning for his first title in this series. Has been a very strong driver, and we saw him get to the victory at Las Vegas a couple of weeks back. Side-by-side battle further through this top 10. Looks like, Joey, this is Richard Swavely and Brandon Banks going at it for P8.
Yeah, Swavely down on the inside. Brandon Banks in the number 54 on the high side, going down the front straightaway here. And I agree with you, Kenneth. I think we're going to see the low lane prevail for the most part here at Dover. I know that the top lane can be rather pesky and you can defend the pass, but I do feel like the low lane is the best way around here.
And the thing is, you run that high lane and all of a sudden you run that thing wrong and you're just kind of face to face with the outside wall, and that's the last thing that you want to have happen here at Dover. And you talked about it a little bit as we continue to watch this side-by-side battle for P8, Swavely and Banks. Not giving anything up right now, although caution will wave for the first time tonight. Austin Shoemaker, the 14 in trouble, immediately plummeted through the grid, and the Barstool Ford Mustang finds himself in a sideways spin entering turn 1. I think contact with Brad Fulham in the middle of the corner, right before turn 1 rather, and brings out our first caution here from Dover. We'll see what happened, and it looked like, Joey, just a little bit of miscommunication trying to switch lanes. Right here the contact is made.
Yep, I think the 14 thought he was clear down low, but definitely wasn't clear. And you see just a little bit of contact and a huge tank slapper with some heavy rear end contact. Unfortunately, the car is definitely not tracking straight right now.
Yeah, and you see the 14 right here off of the look from the 24 Warren Kyle Keith. He gets by in Fortunately, no one else ends up collected in this one-car crash, and so the 14 just tried to go under the 22 of Justin Miller, and it looked like just did not have enough space, was not fully clear. And we did talk about right before the top of the show, and even before we went live, Joey, is the lack of space here at Dover. One car gets wadded up, you probably won't end up in a situation where you have a lot of clean space to get around it. It can be really tough. I think, fortunately for everybody, they were hugging the bottom. Shoemaker went all the way up to the outside wall, but if that happened on the straightaway a little bit earlier, probably some drivers would not have been as lucky, and that's why you've really got to be on your toes here at this track specifically.
And Kenneth, I think the key word you said there was fortunately, because fortunately that did not happen in front of the field. Fortunately, it did not happen in the straightaway. So yes, we got lucky on that one.
Some drivers on pit road, of course, one of them, the 14 of Shoemaker, involved in that caution as we sit behind the iRacing official pace car on lap 14. Charles Phelps in the 75, also for pit road. There's a look on his Big Fish Motorsports Chevy Camaro. His teammate Aaron Adcock, the winner last week at Talladega Super Speedway in that 75. I think a quick service stop, and he's going to be out in 39th. We're going to wait to see whether Austin Shoemaker can get back out on the surface. It looks like he has finally exited his pit stall, so he's going to prevent himself from going a lap down. That's really key as well, Joey. This track not necessarily that large, and falling a lap down here could be a death sentence if you don't get a lot of caution with you. So looks like the 14 of Shoemaker, looks like a little bit of rear end contact, but he should be fine. He's going to be back out there.
Yeah, and all he's trying to do is maximize his repair time on pit road while we're under yellow flag. We saw the contact that he had, and he's just trying to get his car back into a drivable, raceable state, like you said, without going a lap down.
The 14 does not go a lap down. There's a look at his bright neon yellow Ford Mustang. He tries to come around on the other end. Charles Phelps also lined up with the field, so we should have everybody still on track and nobody a lap down or more right now. Good news after the first 15. Remember, we do go up until lap 50 before we give out stage points and throw out the caution for stage 1. Still a little bit of time left to go, and so far it looks like Ross Harlow has been easily taking control of this race. Will Steven Stempien have something to say about it? Right now on Podium Esports, Kenneth Bueno, Joey Atterbury right here on the call, and Ryan Bauer giving the shots with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Pace car is off here in turn number 4, and it'll be all on the number 5 of Ross Harlow to lead us back to green. An early jump, and we are underway once again from Dover.
Nice jump from Ross Harlow, single file for the leader, diving off into turn 1, but it's Steven Stempien and Colin Forrester battling it side by side, and Colin in the 31 hanging it on the top side here, but Stempien's going to get that second place.
First time we see Forrester taking a charge for second. He finished in P2 when we were at Las Vegas not too long ago, and Forrester, really a fast driver week in, week out, not able to officially get over that number 81. Going to funnel back in third, and so everybody once again single file. Our first side-by-side battle, you have to look back to 13th, Ryan Kendall and Aaron Adcock as they settle things out. Chris Shoemaker, the third car in it, and now they'll go back to single train action. Nobody wanting to fight this early on in the race, as Ryan Kendall currently wraps up at around your top 15. Stempien hunting on the rear bumper of your leader, but Joey, so far no progress. Again, everybody wants to be clean, nobody wants to take risks. It seems like that's really the key so far right now.
Yeah, but I tell you what, Steven Stempien, I think he's got a little bit more confidence underneath him. Is he going to make a run here? He's right on the bumper of Ross Harlow. Now he looks down to the inside in turn 1. I think the 5 sees him. He knows that the 81's got a little bit more pace right now.
And he's got it, the 81, Stempien back to the point. Driver had the pole time here this evening, finally back in clean air, and he's probably sighing out a breath of relief that he's finally back out front after a couple of tries on Ross Harlow. Going to readjust himself at the exit at turn 4. And so Steven Stempien back in control, car on the inside wall. That's Chris Shoemaker on the front straightaway, and he's going to collect a couple of cars with him. They get sideways, the 4's up in the outside wall, and somehow, Joey, the caution is not waved, and that was really scary for a moment.
Yeah, and you see Casey Knighton involved in it as well, trying to get clear of the wreck, but you caught it. Shoemaker just troubles on the front straight and then just kind of ping-pongs off of some walls here in turn one, collects some other cars.
And that's a slight mistake there by Gary Sexton. Obviously no intent. He was just trying to straighten the car out on the front straightaway, and then it brings the 4 hard into the safer barrier. He has no steering, so he cannot really bring that car to the apron. He slides up the track. He tags both the 78 of Dakota Wilson and the 10 of Dakota Curtis. So both Dakotas are getting a tank slap there, and both of them save it. Shoemaker's in trouble, both of them. Austin Shoemaker bringing out our first caution. Shoemaker, Chris, this time with a problem.
And jumping back up front here, Kenneth, I've been watching just kind of the racing, the lines that have been developing, and I tell you what, Stempian right now, he is on top of it. His line is excellent coming out of 3 and 4, and oh, problems for Ross Harlow, he's in the wall.
And into the wall goes Forrester and Lawson Peel. Caution flag is out for the second time tonight. Justin Miller and company saying back it up on the radio, and for good reason. Your defending champion and the rookie phenom both involved in a caution after this incident at the exit of turn 2. And Joey, just a slight mistake by Ross Harlow, and it's one thing that can catch you so easily here at Dover. You hit the apron and you go all over the place.
Yeah, and you see it dancing back and forth, and unfortunately it collected the 2 cars behind. And remember what we talked about before the show, it can be not your mistake and still be involved in it.
Yeah, that's true. And obviously for Forster, he is right on the back bumper of Harlow. At that point, he's got no reaction time. Neither does the 12 of Lawson Peel, who arrives on the scene very quickly and gets significant damage. And remember, there are no fast repairs in this series. These guys don't have a freebie. Their race is going to be severely altered for the rest of the night before stage 1 is even over. 24 laps in, and field is on pit road, led by Steven Stempian.
I'm going to call this a stage 1 strategy call right here, Kenneth, because we really have everybody on pit road, and you look at the lap count, we are halfway through stage 1.
Yeah, halfway through stage 1. It looks like 4 tires and fuel, probably going to be the call here, Joey. But over these first couple of runs, I think you noticed Steven Stempian, but was there anything that caught your eye from the field or the drivers in the front throughout that run that we might need to take note of for the rest of stage 1?
Well, we're going to see how it develops now that we've knocked out a couple of these front runners, and looks like actually pit stops might have shaken things up there. Looks like the number 30, Wyatt Brackett, was able to sneak his way up inside the top 3, but I'm still looking at Stempian. Somebody's got to go up there and knock him off the throne, not literally, but he's the one on top of his game right now.
Yeah, he is really fast, and you give him clean air, and it potentially makes things ultimately worse for you. We have a lot of drivers staying out. This field led by Alex Muscarella now, who's going to remain himself out on the racetrack. Remember, Muscarella didn't have the greatest qualifying effort. He started 36th in tonight's race, now up to P1. So this probably is a call. Just hang right now, stay out, get some track position, see if it all works out, maybe hope for another yellow, or just wait until the stage is over if you can hang on to it. Joseph Mohar, Warren Kyle Keith, Kevin Hurley, and Austin Shoemaker, those drivers 1st through 5th, all going to stay out here on this caution. So everybody who pitted is going to be 6th on back. Of course, all of them led by your former race leader in Steven Stempian. So you said it, Joey, this pit stop for a majority of the field, there's some strategy here in stage number 1 before we get that ultimate caution at lap 50. So for these guys at the front, probably just a way to gain track position, and even if they fall back just a little bit, an extra caution or just a stage break could help them get some fresh tires and save a set for the rest of the race. That might be very important.
I agree with you. What I'm curious about, and you might have a little bit more knowledge than I do on this one, in this specific car at this racetrack, I wonder how much the used tires are going to be slow on the initial launch on the restart. I know once we get into turns 1 and 2, the new tires and the speeds that they can carry are pretty much going to sail around the used stuff. But I wonder if we're going to get that accordion effect where new tires are gripping up and those old ones take a little while to get going on the straightaway.
Well, do you think here that these cars at the front might just have wheel spin problems? I mean, it's concrete surface. It is really tough. You're on now what's 26 lap old tires, so it could be really challenging.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. And you look back here, I mean, starting with Stempian in what is the 6th place, so row 3, you got 2 full rows of used tires. And You just have to be heads up out there. We talked about it. Heads up, watch out.
Beautiful shot of Dover Motor Speedway, and you were talking about it, Joey, how it's literally lined up next to a highway up in Dover Telluride. I never noticed that while looking at this map, but I guess as you pass the freeway, right there, isn't it on the left side right there? You pass Miles the Monster?
Yep, yeah, no, the freeway is just right there. If you guys have ever driven up maybe to Philadelphia or gone through Dover, you have definitely seen the racetrack right next door.
And looking at Miles the Monster, that's very scary. I would pass by it, veer off the road, and then just kind of take 5 seconds to calm myself down for how scared I am. It's big. Look at it. Look at Miles the Monster. I mean, look how intimidating that is.
That's a real car, by the way, Kenneth, that he's holding.
Yeah, they put a real car up there, I think, every year for the new winner, or they just put a new promo cars up there. But still drivers trying to tame this monster. Pace car will make its way to pit road here, lap 27 for a restart. Our second one of the evening. Alex Muscarella and Joseph Mohar, those two staying out on old tires. Going to lead this field back. Steven Stempy in the first car on freshies back in P6. Into the restart zone, the 48 brings us to turn one. A bit of a stack up on the outside with Stempy and company, but we are back underway in the Monster Mile 170 battle. Already now for second, Warren, Kyle Keith, and Joseph Mohar trying to settle things out out of turn two. Muscarella already up to a 0.3 of a second advantage, as here comes Stempy and the rest of the Fresh Tire gang.
Oh, it's really busy in turns 3 and 4 right here as Stempian takes to the high side. He was definitely checked up on the restart, but Ross Harlow trying to make it 3 wide here going into turn number 1. Gets a little bit of contact, but saves it.
Somehow keeps the car out of trouble, but he's going to lose a lot of track position. Through goes Miranda, through goes Zach Wilson, and look at the stack up around your top 15. In the middle, 3 wide, Shoemaker, Banks, now Sexton on the high side. Looks like they might settle things out. No, they won't. Still 3 as Richard Swavely dives to the bottom.
Really good move from Gary Sexton, 3 wide, and oh no, cars up in the wall. I believe that was Aaron Adcock, our previous winner, the number 23.
And the 23 in trouble, caught off at the wrong place, wrong time as they made contact. And not sure if the 23 might be out of this race or might have some totaling damage. It seems to be just fine as they're all trying to get around that ailing 14 on the very bottom of the racetrack. They're side by side this time for P5. That's Mario Miranda, Kevin Hurley, as here comes Steven Stempien, challenge for second underneath Joseph Mohar.
And Stempien just drives right underneath, kind of like what I was expecting to see, the used tires versus the new stuff. And oh, problems on the front straightaway.
Miranda around in turn 1, catches Kevin Hurley and a couple of others, caution out. Once again, they stack up again, and they rear end the 99 on the top of the 24 degrees of banking, and the caution is out again. And here, Joey, just looks like a mistake by Miranda. You run up the hill, you hit the wall, and the rest is history.
You know, and I was just gonna say how awesome Mario was doing. He has been one of the cars that took advantage of those new tires, but you're right, turn 4, got up wide, got into the wall, and then just look at everywhere. There's everyone else. There's nowhere to go when it happens in front of you.
You'll see it here off of the look from Kevin Hurley, who does get a piece of it. And he got passed by Miranda not too long ago, and he gets damage on the rear end from the 32 of Richard Swavely. And then even more contact behind Miranda up at the outside wall. Kip Easley, the 8 machine, and it looks like the number 11 of Ray Rogers also get collected. Here's Richard Swavely's perspective. Not a pretty hit to the rear end of the car in front of him. And it looks like that has taken Ray Rogers out of this race. That contact with Miranda near the outside wall. Miranda is going to hit pit road this time by. And our biggest crash, Joey, of the night comes here at around lap 33. As here's a look at Ray Rogers. Nowhere to go at the top of the track.
There's multiple cars involved in this one. This was a wreck that happened at near the front of the field. Mario Miranda was fighting for that top 5 spot. At the time, he was on new tires, and you see kind of the destruction that lays in its wake. But I think the only thing that we can look at on the bright side of this, Kenneth, is that Mario Miranda, previous multi-time winner here, maybe, just maybe, it's somebody else's time to stand on top.
Yeah, that's true. Right now, it's looking like Steven Stempien, with how quick he is, he's already progressed to second off of that last restart. We do also have word that Colin Forster, who was involved in that first big scuffle with Ross Harlow, Lawson Peel. Looks like the number 31, the rookie driver, out of this race. He's 11 laps and counting. So as of the moment, biggest crash of the night, brings out another caution just 16 laps prior to the end of stage number 1. We'll have some time to talk with Mario Miranda, who unfortunately involved in this most recent caution. Mario, just walk us through what happened there from your perspective.
It's probably my fault. I don't know. I thought I had him around the outside. You know, I wasn't anything, but I thought I had a nose enough for a spotter to stay outside. I think I was just too eager to get by him. Can't really put the blame on anyone. I don't want that to happen, and I thought I had it safe, but you know, I'm exhausted after this weekend, and maybe if I wasn't, I had a little bit more energy, I could have saved it, but I just feel bad. I came back up on the field and, you know, killed a lot of good-looking cars, and I killed my own, but still do my best. At least I'm not officially out.
Is there anything different you feel in the car right now? I know there was a lot of damage you picked up from both the front and the rear. Is the steering bent? Is there anything that you've noticed now significantly different with the car?
I think I got lucky. Steering's not bent and my RPMs are fine. I'll definitely find out though when we go green in these next 15 laps to the stage. So I'm just gonna get this all fixed, and with this body model and this damage model they have for the next gens, usually if you get all the optional fixed, you're good as new. So maybe I'm not totally out.
Well, Mario, nonetheless, best of luck on behalf of all of us at Podium Esports. Hopefully things go well for the rest of the event, and hang in there. We'll see you on track on the restart.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Mario Miranda in the 99. Unfortunately caught up in this most recent crash, was on the outside and then hit the wall and came back down in the entire field. A lot of them wadded up in the mess. Ray Rogers has disconnected from this race. We also do have word that Travis Stevens is also out. There's an end-of-line penalty for the number 12 of Lawson Peel, who, for good news on the 12's behalf, he's back out on the track, although he is 10 laps down in 38. So requested an end-of-line penalty. Race control going to give it to him. Now, Joey, race restart here, and you look at Muscarella, you look at Stempien, you know there's a big tire difference. You're probably going to see Stempien charge up to the field in no time.
I agree. And it's a little unfortunate for Alex Muscarella because he had done such an excellent job on those used tires. He had built up a little bit of a gap in between him and the rest of the field, and all evaporated now.
So the field picked up all together here at what's going to be lap 37 of 170. Again, we're still awaiting the end of stage number 1 at lap 50. Alex Muscarella, Steven Stempien, the two lined up in row number 1. Again, Stempien on 11-lap old tires, Muscarella on 36 old Goodyear rubbers. Into the restart zone, and it's a quick getaway by Stempien. Takes the lead prior to the line. We're back underway as they head for turn 1.
You saw the power of new tires, and oh no, the 51 gets turned in front of the field.
And everybody stacks up. Caution flag is out. It looks like nobody got severely torn up in that. Everybody scattered all over the place, and race control through the yellow before it could get much worse. And it's Zach Wilson, you're right there, Joey, who's the main situation. And the driver in it. Looks like contact with the 46 into turn 1.
Yeah, just going down here, it looks like coming down the racetrack, and the 46 was on the low lane, so the 51 was not clear. And oh wow, let's catch our breath there because nobody actually wrecked, and that was in front of the entire field on a restart.
And that was beautiful. Gotta give credit to everybody for keeping their cars clean. The caution thrown. Zach Wilson was pretty much perpendicular to the racetrack right here. Does get the second tap by Joseph Mohar, and the 46 does a beautiful job of saving his Ford Mustang and keeps it out of harm's way. Nobody severely torn up, nobody with a lot of damage, everyone just with a scared moment, and we end up back under the caution flag at lap 38. It just appeared to be, I guess, another situation here, Joey, of the fresh tire versus old tire situation, because you look at Warren Kyle Keith stayed out on 38-lap old tires. Wilson was one of those on freshies, tried to get by, just stacked up all of a sudden.
I agree. You go back and look at it in armchair quarterback, there was a stack up, and that's what made the 51 go low into the 46 that was coming through the racetrack as well. And we saw the difference just in the launch. There's going to be huge corner speed difference at apex speed, minimum speed between the two tire life differences. And so something we're going to have to keep an eye on. I think the only saving grace here, Kenneth, is that we're going to be coming up to end stage 1, and I have a feeling that everybody is probably going to come in at that point.
Oh yeah, everyone has to come in, and again, the strategy is kind of working. If for these guys up at the front, Muscarella, Warren, Kyle Keith, even Joseph Mohar in the number 46, all of them have stayed out up until this point, and while they're kind of losing track position, yeah, the 48 lost the lead, but now you look at a lot of cautions coming out. This is really good. You stay where you're at. Maybe you lose a spot or two, but you stay around the top 10. You stay in points paying position so that by the end of stage 1, you come in for fresh tires. You've got to set safe for the rest of the race. I think that's probably the strategy these guys are going for.
I agree, and I said that unfortunately for Alex Muscarella, he had a lead that was gone, but now, fortunately for him, he's got another yellow flag. So that kind of difference in the tires, it's all going away the longer we are under yellow here. And I mean, when we go back to green, we're going to be going probably, what, under 10 laps to the end of stage 1. So in the eyes of the 48, I would much rather have that shorter distance to run than have to fend off everybody for a whole half a stage.
Yeah, that's really, really tough to try and hold everybody off. And so we're going to have Steven Stepien in the race lead. And as the field comes around, we'll have 10 laps to go into the end of stage number 1. Again, we will go an extra 50 laps for the end of stage 2 and around lap 100. And then we'll have 70 laps before the end of our race here in Delaware. Now, Steven Stepien, again, we talked about his performance at Dover Motor Speedway the last time we were here, where he finished 25th. And again, you think about, Joey, the kind of attitude behind the wheel of you have a poor race, maybe at a track, and you kind of don't forget. It looks like these race car drivers just have the memory of elephants. They don't forget situations like those. They come back to the track and they're like, hey, I know what happened to me last time here. Let me right my wrongs. Stepien is doing all that, checking all the boxes as of the moment.
He is. He's dictating the race, if you will. And I'm looking at the next closest car that has taken tires is actually back there in 5th with Joe Sanchez in the number 55. So not only is Steven Stepien doing what he needs to on the track, but he's putting cars in between himself and what I would consider probably his closest rival in terms of pace.
Yeah, it's true. Well, honestly, going to see here what guys like Joe Sanchez and Wyatt Brackett are going to do. Sanchez really did not put a standout lap in qualifying. It was at P16 where he started this race. Sanchez still without a win here in season number 6. And by the way, not necessarily inside the top 19 in the point standing. So if you're a guy like Joe Sanchez, definitely want to turn things around. Now, the guy on the outside, Zach Wilson, he's in a perfect place right now, sitting 2nd in the point standings without the whole playoff situation. He does not have a win this season, but he's been performing so well that he really doesn't need it. Wyatt Brackett is 11th in raw point standings. He also doesn't have a win, but Sanchez, we'll probably look at the way he's going to be able to move through the field, and of course he's got fresh tires like Steven Stepien and the drivers around him, so could make some spots before the stage is all said and done. Ready for the green flag, a lap number 42. Steven Stepien going to lead us through turn 1, and it'll be Alex Muscarella on the inside of the first row. Green flag back in the air from Dover.
Stepien immediately with a huge jump on the outside. He's going to run away with this stage victory as long as we stay green. And actually a really good run from Alex Muscarella on the bottom lane, but it's the 24 and the 30 stacked up side by side. Now Zach Wilson side by side.
Zach Wilson on the high side, Ross Harlow to give him some support. Joe Sanchez somewhat trapped on the bottom. They're going to split the 46. Here comes Wyatt Brackett to the inside for 3rd. And Wilson might just try and take advantage. He does not. They're going to stay on that outside lane, waiting patiently for the moment to strike. The 24 falling back at the exit of turn 2. Crossover by the 5 to the bottom for 3rd.
Yeah, and here comes that 51 of Zach Wilson. He's going to finally bring Wyatt Brackett along with him. That kind of opens the floodgates. The 46 is kind of pushed up out of the groove. Here comes Ross Harlow as well as Warren Keith.
Green light for the freight train. Everybody on fresh tires trying to make their way through. They're side by side for P9. Brandon Banks, Gary Sexton going to settle things out as they try to get around the old tire number 24 inside our final 6 laps before the end of stage number 1. Warren Kyle Keith way loose out of 4. Here comes Sexton on the bottom. 4-car pack into turn 1.
Gary Sexton doing a fantastic job on the bottom of the racetrack right now, trying to sneak by the 24. Ooh, almost had a door bang coming off of 2, and the 24 takes away the line.
Now, mind you, the 32 of Swavely was involved in that most recent huge crash in the middle of the corner, still with a bit of front-end nose damage, but somewhat seems to be fine. Here's Zach Wilson in the front P2 attack with the 30 of Wyatt Brackett with him, and it looks like right now, Joey, a lot of patience being executed. These fresh tire cars are not pushing the issue. They're waiting for the right moment, and they're taking advantage. Muscarella with no answer on the top. Wyatt Brackett going to look underneath for third. Zach Wilson will move to second.
No, but I think Alex Muscarella is doing a fantastic job. I mean, the tires on these other cars are significantly better, and I tell you what, the 48 is hanging tough. He's still in third place, battling it out side by side.
Now, mind you, he started 36 in tonight's race. Definitely a huge statement. In stage 1, he's going to be in pit road most likely by the time that caution waves in just a couple of laps. Going to get his first set of tires on his Chevrolet Camaro, and still holding strong. Going to actually now let Wyatt Brackett through. Looks like Ross Harlow, the next one on attack. This will be a challenge for 4th. And they've got Joe Sanchez right behind in this line as well. That leads all the way back to 7th place. Brandon Banks before a large gap to the 24 of Warren Kyle Keith. Ross Harlow having to save the race car on the bottom and got loose at a 4.
Yeah, that was actually Alex Muscarella that then Ross Harlow was affected by it. Huge save out of both of those cars. You see Ross Harlow catching his breath, kind of shaking his head. Oh, look at that, the 55, Joe Sanchez with a big block.
He's in the middle of a DBR sandwich. The 55 of Sanchez in front, Brandon Banks right behind him. Sanchez trying to attack on the fellow neon yellow numbered Chevy Camaro. Caution flag is out. And that is for the end of stage 1. Steven Stempien crosses the line. Everybody else in the top 10 through. And it looks like Stempien all the way down to Gary Sexton in the 13 will have stage points. So I think you said it right there, Joey. Even though I thought Muscarella might have fallen further, stage points for the 48. The only driver, I believe, other than Warren Kyle Keith, who stayed out when we had our last caution and are going to get points out of it.
Yeah, you're right. You're spot on there. Alex did a fantastic job. And the other thing that I'm noticing here, the finish of this stage 1, the top 10, only 2 previous winners in here. So we got a lot of drivers up front that want that advancement already.
Hey, I talked about it last week, Talladega. We had a brand new winner. It looks like we might just have ourselves another new driver to head into victory lane here at Dover. But so far, nobody with a proper answer to Stempien's dominance at this stage. So he's going to bring the field on a pit road. Remember, Muscarella and Warren Kyle Keith, along with a lot of the others, Joseph Mohar, and you can count a couple of other drivers in there as well. This is going to be their first official tire stop of the race. Everybody else, this is their second time in for Goodyear Eagles. So it is rather interesting at this stage that when they go for the rest of the race, they might have to save a set. Those guys can probably be a little more comfortable. And should we have a late race restart where tires might be a little more important than usual, then you might just see them be able to grab that advantage and might just take that win away. Quick stop for Zach Wilson, 11.8 seconds. He's going to come out first. Stempien going to be behind him. Justin Miller, the driver, to stay out. But the race off pit road goes to Zach Wilson. The Monster Mile 170 continues here from Dover Motor Speedway. Don't go anywhere. We've got more on the other side on Podium Esports.
Janice.
What's up, Doug? Hi, Cheryl. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
There is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever won.
The steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine. Max Pappas, he asked me one day, he said, what can I do in a wheel? I said, well, with the new.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Welcome back to Dover Motor Speedway as we continue the Monster Mile 170, race number 7 of Season 6 here in this Sunoco Cup Series. Kenneth Bueno and Joey Atterbury with you on the call. Ryan Bauer, our producer tonight, he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, let's talk about that last pit stop before we went on a break, Joey, because we saw Steven Stempien and Zach Wilson race it out of the line. Wilson won that race. It was an 11.8-second stop. You'd figure he'd take tires. He did not. Fuel only, as everybody else behind him take 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles.
Now, we saw alternate strategy with a handful of cars earlier, but that was when we knew the stage was going to be coming to an end. With the strategy call for the 51 here, this is a bold one. We'll see if it pays off. I'd be a little nervous if I was him.
And Wilson taking a strategic call. That was his second pit stop of the race, so you anticipate that he used his first set when everybody else did, but not taking the second set this time around. So looking to be on the same page as Muscarella, as Warren Kyle Keith, and as of a couple of others who just took their first set now. He's gonna just try and do the opposite, save this time by, and hopefully cautions come out that end up in his favor. Now, we saw a lot of great defense out of Muscarella and Warren Kyle Keith on the fresh tire car, so who knows, we might see something out of Zach Wilson. Here's our entire driver wall. There's Wilson there on the top left. Everybody else through the field, some smiles and a lot of focus as they come for the restart on lap number 56. Zach Wilson, your leader this time by Stempien on the outside. Pace car is down, ready to continue here from the Monster Mile at Dover Motor Speedway. Early jump by Zach Wilson and Joey. That might just be the perfect setup as they go side by side for second into turn 1.
It's exactly what Zach Wilson needed, and now we got Wyatt Brackett fighting it out with Stempien coming off of turn 2, but the momentum for the 81's going to carry him down and clear him in front of Brackett.
You love to see it, though, to fear that 51, even for a split second. That 30 and the 81 going side by side. Our next side by side battle inside 5th. Brandon Banks, Alex Muscarella going at it. Remember, Muscarella on the same page as everybody now after that crucial staying out call that got him some stage points at lap 50. It's going to hold the outside here in turn 2, and I think remarkably so, Joey. We see a lot of freight charges on the outside. I wouldn't have expected that second line to be as powerful as it has been. You're right on board with Bill Schoonover, but it really has been prominent.
I think it's coming in more and more and more. And the other thing, that Alex Muscarella pit stop strategy that we were just talking about, Kenneth, it's a bit like chutes and ladders, and he took the ladder straight up to the top. I wonder if we're going to see any other strategies play out like that once we get later in the stage.
Might see that happen again. We go 50 laps again before we end stage number 2 at around lap 100. Cars almost sideways all over the place at around your top 20. Saw a couple of guys chase to the inside apron on the front straightaway. Dakota Curtis making a pass for 19th, and Dustin Reeves under fire from the driver that we talked about earlier on in our broadcast, the 18 of Parker Bland. There's Muscarella now on the outside of Joe Sanchez, and Sanchez, by the way, Joey, finished P6 last time we were here. Sanchez, a quiet run from Dover, and as we look back at this battle with Parker Bland, these guys have not been giving it up. Dustin Reeves on the outside.
No, but Parker Bland, you know, shout out to him because we talked to Parker before this race, and he straight up said, I have no pace. But yet here he is battling it out, trying to crack inside the top 20. Sometimes you just got to stay clean and find out where you end up.
And also said, when I asked him about whether he's kind of getting some tips for the race from practice or whether he's just kind of have to go in blind and find out when we drop the green flag, he said, I'm more of a find out blind, but 18 loose at a turn 2, gonna drop track position and almost wadded up that Camaro, but keeps it straight.
Got to keep it careful though, the tires are dirty. So got to take a corner or two to get back into the groove as we jump back up front. And now, Kenneth, I know that we said Zach Wilson did not take tires, but I'm not seeing any difference in speed between himself, Stempien, and Brackett. Now, I think the only caveat to this strategy is we didn't run very many green flag laps once we had that first yellow.
Yeah, that is true, and now we're starting to really end up there. And looking again at Zach Wilson's pit stop, you do not see the jacks lift up, neither on the left or right side. You do not see that car lift off the ground at all. It just stays flat to the floor. That's only fuel, no tires there. Everybody else, though, has their jacks up. So it is really interesting here seeing that Wilson is putting up comparable lap times to your leaders. He's not that far off, and currently holding on to about half a second of an advantage. We're watching a gaggle though. Joey around his top 10. Garrett Brown on the inside of Logan Sturgeon. Alex Muscarella, Gary Sexton in this large pack.
Yeah, I was just noticing Gary Sexton just barely got clear of the 48 coming up out of turn 2. Clears himself of, like you said, this gaggle of cars.
Kip Easley in this group as well. Mind you, Easley was in that incident with Mario Miranda as he stacked up on the hindsight. That got caught up with Ray Rogers, and while Rogers, unfortunately, is out of this race, Kip Easley has been able to continue riding in P12. Jesse Whittington right now behind him in P13 has rolled from 25th on the grid to 13th. Gonna slap the outside wall for a little bit there. Him and his teammate Logan Sturgeon really have been quick, and Joey, I think just a reflection of practice. Them really fast, first and fourth in practice times, as here comes Stempien finally for the lead on Zach Wilson for P1. Wyatt Brecken not too far behind, but the SheriffStrafe.com racing cars putting up a show here from Dover, no doubt.
And I wonder if we're finally seeing that crossover point of the tire wear, because it was like Zach Wilson was on the same set of tires, but now once we're about 5-7 laps into this green flag run, you see him starting to struggle just that little bit and lose pace.
And that last time by reflective of that, and we'll cross the line. And again, still the same story, 23.98 for Zach Wilson, 23.6, 23.5 for both Wyatt Brackett and Steven Stempien on board with the number 26, Logan Sturgeon. And we talked about the story with him last week on how instrumental he was in Aaron Adcock's first ever Sunoco Cup Series win, the team owner of Big Fish Motorsports, who, by the way, an affiliate of the SheriffStrafe.com racing team. Sturgeon really having a solid outing here from Dover, and really trying to capitalize here and possibly get some points. He's in that last spot to get it in. I think also some redemption for him as well, Joey, because last time we were here, I know I'm mentioning this a lot, but you just see how much things have changed in about a year. He finished 38th after starting 36. So Sturgeon turning the page in the positive way as you ride on board with Kevin Hurley further back in 23rd.
Yeah, as we jump, like you said, on board with Kevin Hurley. Oh, got contact in turn 1. That was Mario Miranda right in front of him. A little bit of a stack up there, and you see how quickly things can happen here at the Monster Mile. I mean, that just unfolded right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, it was really quick, and it looked like that was contact up in front of them between Chris Progar and Dustin Reeves. Progar got into the quarter panel of Reeves, sent him sideways, and while Reeves was able to save it, Miranda chased up the track, and that got in to the number 25 of Kevin Hurley as they all stacked up, and here's the aftermath. As there's the 7 of Chris Progar, driver we talked to before the green flag in 21st, Miranda up in 20th, and now here is Jesse Whittington, who up until this point, I think has severely dropped off, now 28th on the racetrack.
Well, and remember, we were talking with Mario earlier on the race, and he was pretty down and out about what was happening as we're checking out 3 wide here, catch a replay of what exactly happened going into turn 3 here with the 94. Oh, looks like he was actually coming out of turn 2 there, Kenneth. Jesse Whittington just got a little bit of a door slam into him.
And just a bit of contact, unfortunately, and Whittington chased down the track into the wall. It looks like no tolling damage or any severe damage on the Camaro. He's going to be able to continue, although track position that far dropped off is really, really tough to get back, especially in the middle of dirty air. And you look at the structure of this Dover Motor Speedway, Joey, and one thing you really notice is the incline from the top of the track to the bottom. Obviously, every track on the oval side has banking on the straightaways, but here at Dover, it just feels much more pronounced on the front and back straightaways. You make contact with the driver, you're going downhill, you're gaining speed, and you can easily get yourself into that wall if anything goes wrong. Zach Wilson, though, letting back, he's going to fall to 8th.
And I believe it's something like 9 degrees of banking on the straightaways themselves. So you're right, it's known as a self-cleaning racetrack, and you couple that with the crazy high speeds that we see here, and when you start to slide, it just seems to continue and continue on the racetrack.
It seems like it's been a problem for some of those drivers in the field, and a bit of contact at around 13th. That's Warren Kyle Keith, Judd Danielson, also bringing in Dakota Curtis in the mix, and got Logitech G on the Ford Mustang this evening. He's going to make contact with Danielson, and he'll go around on the back straightaway. Ryan Kendall barely avoids the contact, and the 2-car stack up brings us under yellow once again at lap 77.
Yeah, between, I believe this is the 10 car here, and then also Judd Danielson in the 85 involved in this one. Kenneth, this funnel off of turn 2, it bites.
And you'll see it right there, the bit of contact that gets them both collected. And you were riding on board with Curtis. He went officially perpendicular sideways, and they both come to a rest at the inside of wall. We'll watch here with Ryan Kendall. This is at first with Isaac Mock in the 47 for Nitro Motorsports, right behind the incident. We'll just see this pair of contact, Joey, and even then, that little bit of touching can result in just a large mess. And here's Kendall. Oh, you can fit a piece of paper through there.
You get on the radio after that one and you say, hey, Senka, am I still alive?
That's a life-flashing moment before your eyes. the 68 of Ryan Kendall is going to be able to escape. It looks like harm-free. He's going to bring it down pit road, I believe. No, he's not. Actually, he's going to stay out, but there's a lot of drivers behind that are coming in. Steven Stepien going to remain out on the racetrack with everybody else behind. We are still more than 20 laps shy of the end of stage number 2. We got a couple of drivers, looks like, wave around this time through. We're going to officially identify who that driver is that was getting that wave around. Zach Wilson going to bring himself back to the field. Now 25th, and there's a significant amount of drivers here, Joey, that are hitting the pits, obviously with damage, but a lot of them still with some strategy calls I think they might have up their sleeve.
I think so too, and I think that between the 48 of Alex Muscarella and then also I believe it was Zach Wilson there that came or stayed out on the old tires, I think that we've seen enough cards that you can probably play a few different strategies depending on what you're trying to do and how many laps are left in each stage.
And that's true. The 81 is Steven Stepien out in the front of the field, and we're going to bring him in as he leads this race. Lap 79. Steven, I know probably that caution, not the best case scenario, but you've been the fastest car all night. What's been behind this outrageous speed from the Monster Mile?
I just love this track, man. It's one of my favorites. Got my first official win here back in the day, and ever since then it's been one of my favorites. Didn't really have the finish I wanted here last season, so looking to rebound strong. Definitely didn't want to see that caution. Was put some space on myself in second and third there, but whatever. Back to work for the next 20 laps, and we'll see what happens.
I love that mindset, getting your head back down and just going straight to work, handling business when we get the green flag. And you talked about the race last time we were here, and you finished in 25th after having a top 10 run to start. Is there a little more redemption, more of a redemption arc this time by that you're leading this race and you're like, let me just get my unfinished business solved. Let me right my wrongs here. Let me get this win at this track.
Yeah, man, I'm like I said, it's one of my favorite tracks in the circuit. And I was looking at this part of the schedule. I got a lot of good tracks of mine coming up, so just kind of licking my chops a little bit, and we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully I can bat for the cycle here, get the pole, couple stages and a win. We'll see.
I know we got the 1 to green, but final question before we let you get back to it behind the wheel. You're looking at kind of a long race. We've had a lot of cautions. Is there any strategy you've got in mind here for the end of stage 2 and then final stage?
Just take it easy, keep the tires under me. Obviously, this thing gets loose towards the end of the run, so just managing the tires. And, if I give up a couple spots, so be it, whatever. I know I got the speed to get back up there once I get some tires, but we'll see. Hopefully, they're cooled off enough and get a good run here.
All right, we'll let you get back to work, and I think the Monster's looking a little scared of you right now. That car, super fast. Steven, best of luck on the restart.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Stepien in the 81, going to lead the field from the outside lane in row 1. Wyatt Brackett also got to count in how fast he's been this evening after starting in 10th. Brackett, one of the most consistent drivers also we've seen in the Sunoco Cup Series. We'll see if he's got something for the 81. Might give him a battle when we get to the first corner. Joe Sanchez and Ross Harlow back in row number 2. Richard Swavely has done a nice job moving up to the field after being involved in a caution. He's in P6. Richard Swavely with Brandon Banks there in row number 3. Pace car is down. Stepien into the restart zone. We're back underway from Dover.
Really good jump once again from Stepien in that outside lane. Ross Harlow getting a little bit checked up behind the 30 of Wyatt Brackett. He's going to search for a little bit of an over-under on the racetrack, but the 54 is taking a look down low as well as the 30.
You look there, Wyatt Brackett looking on Joe Sanchez, who officially takes over second. Ross Harlow going to get a punch by the 54 of Banks. Now Swavely will look to the inside. Gary Sexton and company among those that are just waiting for their moment to strike. They're side by side for third and also side by side for fourth on the back straightaway.
The 54 with a really good run doesn't have anywhere to go with it here as Ross Harlow as well as Wyatt Brackett continue side by side about a 3 and 4. And I want to give a shout out to that number 13 car. Every time I look at it in timing and scoring, seems like it moves up 1 or 2. Oh no!
Crash, big one. Justin Erb and among others involved. Joseph Mohar, the 9 of Bill Schoonover. And that might tie it for biggest crash of the evening, and it looked like it started with Mahar in the 46. Indeed it did, and I think it was a bump out of 4 by the 7 of Progar. Watch how it all unfolds.
Oh yeah, just a huge tank slapper from the 46, and then look at this. It's going to be pretty much pinball ever since, and I'm actually surprised that more cars didn't get collected in that.
Yeah, there were a lot of good avoidance calls by the field, but really begins with the 46 getting that shot on the back by the 20, or the 7 rather, and then comes in a couple of other cars. Sean Kalis getting a contact, the 14, and then gets into the 20 and the 9, and they both stack up there at the bottom end of the front straightaway. Again, you talk about the 9 degrees of banking. It's a self-cleaning track. As soon as an incident happens, they go straight for that inside wall. Here's the look on behalf of Chuck Phelps in the 75.
And you see he just stays up to the top side of the racetrack here, and everything, like you said, it self-cleans down to the bottom. You just have to be aware of any other cars joining the wreck at that point.
So caution out again. Steven Stepien gonna hold on to his speed for now. And so we'll have everybody again behind the command of the iRacing official pace car. And looking at the history here at Dover, Mario Miranda has won the last 2 races. Remember, Joey, he got caught up in a big crash. It looked like his race might have been over. He has since bounced back to 13th. He has been remarkably quick, even with the damage on his Ford Mustang after starting 5th. And you noted it earlier on in our broadcast, in the broadcast chat, that he's really been on fire since that crash. This car looks pretty much spotless, and that 99 is hunting back for the front.
He's taken advantage of all of the yellow flag, the stage breaks. He's come down, fixed a ton of that damage on that number 99. You're right, it looks pretty much clean and new out there. Almost like they rolled another car off of the trailer and put it on the racetrack. But I tell you what, if you're a racing car driver and all of a sudden you get a second life, a second wind out there, take advantage of it. And that is exactly what the three-time previous winner is doing.
Yeah, it's a really, really big mindset to have. And also you look at his dominance throughout the last two Dover races. Season 5, he led 103. Season 4, he led 171 out of the 182 laps. He has been outstanding here at the Monster Mile. Tonight, it's been the complete opposite, just with that crash, with that slight mistake. Miranda, although he's probably not going to be able to lead every single lap, or at least every single lap up until this stage, he probably will be able to get back, or at least give himself a shot. And while he hasn't been on a different strategy, at least a big one, to consider himself really on the other spectrum from everybody else, he's been really quick. And there's a reason why Miranda has won 2 races in a row here. Still looking for what might be his 3rd win of the season, his 3rd straight at Dover. But he does have to get around Steven Stepien, and I think now, Joey, we're just looking at a lot of short run pace being at utmost importance. We're seeing a lot of cautions frequently.
A lot of cautions frequently, and by the time we go back to green to end stage number 2, we're looking probably just over 10 laps or so, maybe 12, 13 laps to go in the stage here. And I think this once again kind of opens the door for some alternate strategies. I was noticing Zach Wilson was the only car to come down on that previous yellow. He restarted 25th. He was able to leapfrog a few positions, but if it continues to be this yellow flag ridden race, it might kind of be opportunities for different ball game strategies.
Yeah, and for Wilson, it's going to be this opportunity sort of squandered, right? Because you're looking at now 13 laps before the end of stage number 2, at lap number 100. You got fresh tires. If you continue to get cautions, you only pick up, like you said, spot or 2. And now and then, while he has picked up a significant amount of spots under that last run, you just can't really do anything when you've got yellow after yellow after yellow. Wilson is going to hope for a green flag run. He's also going to need to have a lot of patience because there's a lot of old tire cars in front of him. He's going to have to pick his way through the field as best as possible. We're doubled up for the restart, lap number 88 of our 170 lap event from Dover. Steven Stepien still your leader. New fresh face in P2. Highest we've seen Joe Sanchez all night long for Drinkin' Bros Racing. We saw his teammate Lawson Peel involved in that incident on one of our first yellows of the night. Pace cars down, all in control with Stepien in the 81, who will step into the restart zone. He'll hop on the gas pedal. Good start. We're back under green.
Good start from really the front 4 is the 32 of Richard Swavely that lost out on the jump, but it's Stepien out front, Joe Sanchez on the bottom, Ross Harlow in 3rd.
Ross Harlow looking for P3, and now in a P2 possibly if he can get to the back bumper of Sanchez in enough time. Sanchez looking to hold strong with Stepien, all single file, at least back to your top 15, where Mario Miranda is trying to gain ground on the 24 of Warren Kyle Keith. Justin Miller looks like over the radio saying something. Wilson heading into the top 20, and here's Brandon Banks. A look underneath the 30 of Wyatt Brackett, turn 3.
Brackett and Banks side by side in 3 and 4, and I'm looking at the car just behind. Oh no, the 30 way up into the wall in 4. Gary Sexton off of the gas to avoid a big wreck on the straightaway. Heads up driving from the 13, and I was going to mention him. Every single time I look at that 13, it seems like he's up 1-2 positions.
And he's definitely been on the move, and so has Richard Swavely, so has Logan Sturgeon. And now you look at that green car on the outside, a couple of rows back, that 99 back into the top 10 for the first time in a long time. Welcome back, Miranda, as Easley and Warren Kyle Keith do battle for 11th. Here's a look on board with the Tulsa, Oklahoma native Ford Mustang, and Miranda looking on the back end of Logan Sturgeon. What a recovery it's been.
It has been a great story for Mario Miranda, although I think that he doesn't want to remember.
Sexton right in front of Muscarella. They'll keep it straight.
Well, that was so close, and you saw it unfold right here through the windshield, but Mario Miranda focused forward. He's going to go under Muscarella. More problems for Sexton.
Sexton struggling with his Ford Mustang. Through goes Muscarella. Chip easily sideways. Gets contact with the 24. Hard into the outside wall. And that's the yellow. 78 laps to go and 7 laps shy of stage 2.
So unfortunate for the 8, as well as it looks like the 94 is involved in this one. Jesse Whittington, also Warren Kyle Keith involved in this. This was probably the heaviest impact we've seen.
And look who was underneath the mayhem, Zach Wilson. It looks like he just did not make the corner, made that contact with the 24. It was somewhat of a domino effect. And they got into the 8, who goes hard into the wall and does bring in another driver with him. And unfortunately, that's Jesse Whittington, fastest car in practice earlier tonight. And now with some severe damage on the front end, that's a look off the rear end of Wilson, who just made that contact with the 24. And we talked about patience. You need to have Joey around old tire cars. Looked like he just tried to go for it, and unfortunately, it was a little too late to make that pass.
Oh, and look at that, just Jesse Whittington. He had already gotten hip checked up into the wall, and then all of a sudden, he found the number 8 literally in his lap. Nowhere to go with that one. And yeah, that was an aggressive move from the 51 going down into turn number 3. And now I can't fault him too much, because remember, we made that comment, he is on fresh tires compared to everybody else, but you also have to be a little bit respectful of what everything is going on out there.
Yeah, that's true. And for Wilson, you know, probably just that last second decision, thought he can make the corner with his tire grip, and it was just a little bit too late. We have a lot of cars heading down for pit road, and that will be everybody practically 20th on back. Ross Harlow, by the way, Brandon Banks here, Joey, they have made stops on pit road. Remember, they were inside the top 10. So here, another alternate call as this race is under yellow. It opened the door for the 5 and the 54. They decided, why not get some fresh tires before stage 2 is over, get that track position once we get the restart.
And I kind of like this strategy, because think about it. If you're in the 5 of Ross Harlow's shoes, if you come in right now, you're looking at what, maybe a lap or 2 under green flag conditions before the stage ends, and everybody else is going to come in and take those tires. You're pretty much going to leapfrog everybody.
And so we're going to see what the call is for Stempien and company, although right now it looks like a confirmation of him staying out. Everybody else is going to follow through with him. We also do have word that Lawson Peel has officially disconnected from this race. Remember, him and Colin Forrester went for the inside wall right about this spot where the field is on the back straightaway. Both of them slammed the safer barrier, had big time damage. Forrester immediately pulled the DNF button. He was out immediately, but the 12 of Peel tried to hang in there for a while, and he is 17 laps down and counting in 37th. He becomes the 4th different driver to DNF here this evening from Dover, leaving us with 36 cars total, 34 of those on the lead lap. Steven Stempien looking for what's going to be his 4th straight top 15 here in the Sunoco Cup Series, but right behind him is Joe Sanchez in the 55, who, by the way, still has yet to find a win in this Sunoco Cup Series, but comes into this race without a top 15 in Talladega, and then you look all the way back to Las Vegas, and you can't see the 55 of Sanchez either in the top 15 there, and then at Bristol Dirt, you don't see him in the top 15, or top 10 rather, until 13. So Sanchez really needing a race like this with points. Stempien just trying to hang on to consistency, it looks like.
Yeah, but he's got the speed to do it. I mean, he's been the fastest car out front. Somebody's going to have to go steal away that win, and I feel kind of bad for putting the commentator's curse on Gary Sexton there before that yellow flag, but I'm going to watch him again, because I felt like that number 13 had some damage on that race car. He might be off pace and just trying to limp it back to the stage number 2 end.
Biggest drivers to note, of course, Stempien up front. Looks like Richard Swavely was involved in a crash earlier tonight. Miranda, who's now back inside the top 5. Logan Sturgeon and Zach Wilson, how about it? Still on fresh Goodyear Eagles. Field out of turn 4 in the hands of Stempien. This time by a little bit of a stack up top, but no problems for the 81. Back to green with a couple of laps left until the end of stage 2.
Yeah, pretty clean getaway for our front runners. Got to go all the way back to the 26 and the 99 of Mario Miranda, but look at Mario take to the high side of the racetrack.
Miranda looking up top, and that's probably the highest we've seen a driver there, at least in that last run. Almost was in that 3rd lane. A big run out of turn 4. Swavely opens up the top lane. They're going at it for around P7. It was Muscarella and Logan Sturgeon having a bit of action there. Miranda on the outside of Swavely, almost a bit of contact, and here comes a 2-for-1. Miranda to the inside.
Use the over-under to perfection. Now a little bit of some contact between himself and the 30 of Brackett, but Mario Miranda, oh, problems on the front straight.
Brackett into Swavely, now into Curtis. And around the all go, Winters gets tagged, and he goes up into the safer barrier. Caution is out again right before the conclusion of stage 2. And for Wyatt Brackett, this is a heartbreaker. One of the fastest cars all night long, tagged in a mistake on the start-finish line.
Just such a tough one. What at the number 30 up top? Watch the 30 car. He gets loose coming out of 4, comes down the racetrack, gets into the other car, and then just tire smoke blocks everybody's view.
And you're at Dover. We talk about how easy it is to make mistakes. It didn't go into the outside wall, but he about fishtailed that car 2 or 3 times before going down right into the 32. You see that Zach Wilson, who was almost in it, and then the drivers who do get a piece, Dakota Curtis, and then there's the 88 of Justin Winters, who's not in the shot. We'll see him later, and right about here, Miranda makes this pass. A bit of contact at first, but I'm not sure whether that's really the thing that set it off. So it's just right here, throttle way too heavy. That car is sideways, and with this next-gen car, it's really hard to keep straight. And look at the way that Logan Sturgeon was able to skip through all that.
Yeah, I don't think that it was the contact that did him in. I mean, you might be able to argue that it pushed him up into the marbles, and that might have been why the car got loose, but I really thought that was just some good, fair, clean racing.
It just looked like a mistake, and that will be, though, this caution, the end of stage number 2. Steven Stempien gonna win this stage, and it looks like exactly the same place he left off in the first one. Joe Sanchez, though, with a lot of great points. Miranda stepping back into the top 10 since his big incident earlier on. And look at that 3-way fight for the lead, it appears to be, out of pit road. We did have drivers stay out. Everybody 12th to 1st, all on the racetrack still, but Miranda beats the Stempien machine out of the lane.
I mean, talk about a comeback for the number 99. I mean, like I said, he wants to forget about the first half of the race, but everything seems to be going right for the 99 now.
Yeah, he has really been on fire. And you look at how motivated he's been since that incident. He kind of just said, I'm going to see how much damage I've got. I'm going to see how things are going to fare out. I'm going to try my best to hang on to this car. Ever since he got that car fixed, he has been on a mission. It looked like as soon as he got over that first hurdle, it was like, all right, now I'm going to show him why I'm a 2-time winner here at the Monster Mile. I'm going to go back up to the front. I'm going to try to dominate this thing. Now, remember, drivers 12th on forward, all of them are staying out, including Brandon Banks, Kevin Hurley, Ross Harlow, Aaron Adcock, Justin Miller. The list goes on. These guys now, Joey, on 10-lap old tires. By the time we cross the line, it's a rather interesting discrepancy. Now as we get into the final stage, it might be a lot of fun to see how they do everything now moving forward.
So this is that tire strategy that I was talking about that Ross Harlow was doing, is that he pitted right before the end of that stage. He was banking on very few green laps being put on that set of tires, so that way he's pretty much consider it brand new stuff right now, and he just leapfrogged everybody that came down and essentially took the stage points.
And so Brandon Banks is going to lead this field on what's going to be 10-lap old tires. Kevin Hurley We talked about him a little bit. He's picked up some contact tonight, but he has since rebounded, now up to second. Ross Harlow in third. Aaron Adcock, our winner from last week at Talladega in the P4. Justin Miller, also first time we talk about him in our top 5. He started 31st, and right now, if you look at the top 10, 3, it looks like 4 now of those drivers started 30th or worse. Kevin Hurley, 34th. It was 31st for Justin Miller, 35th for Charles Phelps, who's now in P6, 33rd for Dustin Reeves, and that's the end of the list. It looks like a lot of big movements through the field for those guys, and this is, Joey, an opportunity to just hold on to the front, maybe lead some laps if they can take it, but just run inside the top 5 and try to be consistent and try to get something out of this next run.
Get some momentum going. Get something going on their side. And I'm looking at the 23, Aaron Adcock. I think Aaron that had a few problems earlier on in this race, but now finds himself solidly inside the top 5 with that strategy. So you're right. It might be an opportunity for some of these cars to carry this momentum into the final stage.
2 out of the 3 Big Fish Motorsports cars, by the way. Those 2, Aaron Adcock, Chuck Phelps, inside your top 10. So really interesting to see. They're missing Casey Knight in the 84, but nonetheless, Big Fish Motorsports trying to stand out here. Remember, they had that win in Talladega. They're trying to ride that momentum as much as possible. Green flag in the air, this time for stage number 3 from Dover. Early jump by the 54 of Brandon Banks. Kevin Hurley, Ross Harlow to tango for second in turn 1.
And crucially, the number 5 got a killer restart. He's pretty much freed up to chase down our leader. Here comes Aaron Adcock trying to make it too wide into turn number 3 with Kevin Hurley.
Adcock looking for 3rd. We're going to keep our eyes peeled for 12th and 13th. The 81 of Steven Stempien, the 99 of Mario Miranda. They're still hanging back in the mid-pack. Remember, they've got the fresh tire power, so they can try their best to get to the front of the field. Stempien getting around Dustin Reeves. Miranda looking for the same motive. This time he's going to bring Joe Sanchez with him. And so it's a methodical move up through the field. Stempien up to 11th right now. They're still side by side for 12th.
And this is a very interesting part of the race, Kenneth, because we're watching 2 of the fastest cars between Stempien and Miranda, and we're also looking at potentially the longest green flag run that these drivers might face. What do you do right now in terms of tire conservation while you're charging through the field?
And that's a good question you can ask these drivers at the front. Is Aaron Adcock looks to be wasting no time. He's got the nose possibly in there for second. He's going to try and dive into turn 1. He'll move Harlow up the track just a little bit. Aaron Adcock out of a cannon looking for P2 on the back straightaway.
Here comes the 23 down low on Ross Harlow. I was expecting a little bit more speed out of Ross, but look at the 23. He's turning it up at the right time.
Aaron is really fast right now. Across the line at a 23.330. He is the fastest out of anyone inside the top 5 other than Jesse Whittington. Brandon Banks a little slower at a 23.4. So you can probably tell, Joey, that 23 is searching for the clean air and turning up the aggression really quick right now.
He sees Brandon Banks kind of escaping out there right now, and if we have a long green flag run, that's what you don't want. You don't want the track position lost. You want to be right up in there chasing him down.
Now remember, everybody so far from 1st back to 8th pitted around 16 laps ago. One of those drivers was Jesse Whittington. Remember the crash that he was in earlier on in tonight's race. You cannot stop the fight out of this 94, the SheriffStrafe.com racing car. Still in it, looking at Ross Harlow. He's got a chance at the podium if he can get there.
And look at, he's still carrying the war wounds from that incident, but it hasn't slowed down the 94 at all. He's turning competitive lap times. Ross Harlow right in front of him, Kevin Hurley right behind, but the 94, a great run.
They're eyeing down Steven Stempien and Mario Miranda, mind you, on fresh tires, but they really haven't made too much progress, at least not drastically. The 81 has been moved up to the top 10. But now looking on Parker Bland, who you're riding on board with right now for TOW Racing. And the VR setup looking right ahead of him with the 43 of Sean Kalis. And now here comes Stempien for the taking exit of turn 4. We'll try and attack in turn 1. And it's just little by little, Joey. I think if you're these drivers, they might need a long green flag run to happen if they want to make the use of their Eagles right now.
Tip of the cap to Stempien right there. It looked like he could have slid up wide, but Parker was still there, still fighting Sean Kalist here in the 43. I still think that Stempien is the car to beat. I know the 99 has some momentum on his side, but just how comfortable Stempien is through the traffic, he's the one to beat.
Yeah, it looks like two different types of methods here to get through the traffic. You watch the 81, he's a little more methodical, but he's way faster at this process. It looks like the 99 has taken a little more time to get comfortable around this group, although there's contact right in front of where Miranda sits. Chuck Phelps and Sean Kalist made door-to-door contact on the front straightaway, and Miranda had to send a message on the back bumper of Parker Bland's 18 Camaro. And now going to look to the outside of Dakota Wilson, so he'll slot into 11th as Stempien's car continues to drift further and further into distance. He is now slotted up to 7th as they are going at it for the lead. Aaron Adcock with a nose underneath Brendan Banks in turn 1.
Yeah, coming out of turn 2 now, 23 of Aaron Adcock on the bottom, gonna overtake Brandon Banks, new leader to the point.
He won that race at Talladega and now looking for his second straight win of season 6, pulling away from Brandon Banks at the exit of turn 4. And you're right on board there, the bottom right, the camera, the focus out of Aaron Adcock, the first time he's in clean air all night long. They're side by side for third. Jesse Whittington making it a Sheriff Strafe top 3-1 right now.
I tell you what, Kenneth, if it stays green, I think Aaron Adcock is looking to be in a fantastic position because he's put almost a whole straightaway between himself and Stempien, who's the closest car on the freshest tires.
And Stempien still has to make his way through traffic too, so you have to look here, Joey. It just might be what the fall off is for Stempien. He's working so hard to get around traffic. By the time he gets to Adcock, will that speed be scrubbed off? Will those tires not have enough grip that they did the lap before? We'll try and find out. He's still got a solid gap before he gets to Kevin Hurley in P5, the next car in line. Miranda is still trying to work through traffic. He just got around Justin Miller and now going to try and eye in on the 43 of Sean Kalist as Joe Sanchez gets caught up right behind Parker Bland, Justin Miller, and now look at Zach Wilson back in 13th.
Yeah, you mentioned few of the moves being made a little bit further back in the pack, and Mario Miranda kind of in some single file clean air. And just as I say that, he's taking a look down the inside of Sean Kalist, hop back with Zach Wilson. Now, Zach Wilson is one of these chutes and ladders drivers. We've seen him go straight to the top and also take some pit strategy that puts him in the back.
And we have seen that, and maybe we'll see it work. I mean, this is the longest run that we'll have this race. A lot of things can be opened up for strategy. A lot of things can be opened up for track position, just like it already has so far tonight. 18 of Parker Bland is going to give way here to the 51 of Zach Wilson, who finds his way in 11th. He, much like Miranda and company, are still trying to work on traffic, but looks like Miranda has something else to worry about because Joe Sanchez has just moved to the inside as Ross Harlow has more cars to fight with. Jesse Whittington, Kevin Hurley going side by side.
Yeah, Ross has his mirrors full of two hungry cars right now in the form of Kevin Hurley, also Jesse Whittington. They both are trying to get up into that third place position, and Ross is doing a great job. I've noticed that he's been one of these cars that's actually kind of hanging out more about a lane and a half up off of the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, it looks like he is, and that's a good look right there. The 94, just about half a lane to a lane lower, the 5, just hanging in the middle. I get scared every time, Joey, watching this lap, because if I ran up there, I would be dead to the wall by the time I exited the corner. But Ross Harlow is just so disciplined. As Aaron Adcock almost about wadded up his car at the exit of 4. It's going to reel in Brandon Banks a little more, but you look at Harlow's method of working through this track, pretty interesting, and the same can be said for Stempien as caution flag is out. It looks like Dustin Reeves among those, a little slow on the apron, and a pretty big crash, substantial one. It involved Logan Sturgeon and Justin Miller.
Yeah, I'm gonna back it up. It all starts off at turn 4 with the 22 car. That's where it all starts. Just a huge wiggle coming off of turn 4. You see it right there, and then it's just a domino effect down the front straightaway.
Oh no, just got a little too loose and went down the track, got into the 75 of Feltz and then up into Sturgeon. Remember, those are two Big Fish Motorsports cars. And then right at the track, and that's really not the end of it, because the 48 of Alex Muscarella also gets a piece of this, and he goes to the inside wall, and you watch it right here. He makes contact with Dustin Reeves and then comes back down the track. Justin Winters getting a piece as he got hit by, looks to be the number, I believe that was the 34. And here's a look from Warren Kyle Keith.
And coming out onto the front straightaway, everything unfolds. You see the cars going back and forth in front. And does Warren Kyle Keith escape it? I think that he snuck his way through there.
He was able to get there. By the way, going to correct myself, not the 34, the 32. Richard Swavely was the one that got into the back of Justin Winters there at the arrival of that incident. Caution is out again, lap 125. But everybody other than Ross Harlow here, Joey, are pitting. The 5 is staying out. I'm not sure how he's going to survive on the restart, but Stepien and company are all here. Brandon Banks, Aaron Adcock fighting for the lead off of pit road, and Adcock will have it.
I'm looking at my watch. I'm looking at my note cards. I'm looking at everything. This is prime time optimal pit strategy to come down, get a set of tires, and set yourself up for later in the race. And you're right, I'm not sure what happened with the number 5 radio. Maybe it got unplugged out there, but Ross Harlow going to be sitting on an island all by himself.
It's a pretty peculiar call, this 5 on some pretty old Goodyear Eagles, and I'm not sure how things are going to work, because we've seen drivers stay out with company behind them. Harlow has nobody but himself. He is stranded on Gilligan's Island. We'll talk with the 5 of Harlow as he leads this race from Dover. Ross, let's talk about that strategy. You stayed out, everybody else went in. What's going through your mind right now?
I mean, we'll see. Got one more set of tires in them. It's going to hurt for a while here. Just try to stop the bleeding, but hopefully it helps in the long run. I don't think they're done wrecking here.
And cautions have been really pivotal in this race. Are you expecting just a lot of short runs from here on out, or do you think we might just have a long green flag run, much like we did the last time before this caution?
I don't know. The last time there was a split strategy, it really caused some mayhem. I'm not saying I'm looking to do that, but I know the guys are going to get desperate here. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to kid myself and think that I can hold on to this thing on tires this old for 50 laps, but we're going to give it a good go. Hopefully we don't lose too much until the next caution. We can come down, put some fresh rubber on. We'll just be that much faster come the next run.
You know what's going to feel like an uppercut if you got the fresh tires? Everybody else is going to be on the older set. I like the strategy, though, banking on that set, having confidence that this race might go in your favor. Ross, we're going to let you go and get ready for this restart. Best of luck out there.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it, sir.
So Ross Harlow on 30-something, 32 lap old tires. And now that we are standing and we're going to cross the line, it's going to be 33. So Joey, you heard the way his voice kind of strained a little bit. You just said, oh, right after I asked that first question, he's going to try his best to slow things down. But nonetheless, it's going to hurt. But I like the strategy. He's banking on a caution. He's banking on a last set.
I can see the strategy like on the horizon out there. I never like relying on a yellow flag for your pit stop strategy, because that's an unknown factor out there. And Ross Harlow, like I said, he's on an island all by himself. Will it work out? Only time will tell.
Would you be as nervous if you're Ross Harlow now staying out?
Oh yeah, no. In my opinion, he's in trouble. He's in big trouble.
He's got a pack of hungry cars behind him, no doubt. None of them teammates, by the way. Brandon Banks going to be on the inside in row number 1. And then he will have Kevin Hurley in 3rd. Aaron Adcock, who has put up a stellar run in this second half of the Monster Mile 170 in 4th. Steven Stepien has finally gone back to the top 5. Miranda behind him in P6. Wilson in 7th. Sanchez in 8th. And it looks like the rest of your top 10, Dakota Wilson and Sean Kalist in the 43. Field out of turn 4. Harlow to the green flag.
I think Ross's saving grace right there is that he got an excellent launch coming to the green flag, and they're battling it out side by side. Hurley and Banks behind. Adcock and Miranda make up the top 5.
He might need them to crash or for anything else to happen. Banks looking on the inside. Hurley trapped up top. Brandon Banks to the race lead out of turn 4.
This is where it gets narrow. 3 wide down the front straightaway with Miranda taking a look, as well as the 55. Oh no, Miranda gets turned. He saves it.
He saves it. Caution flag is out though, and another car sideways. That's Parker Bland, and he keeps it straight. Miranda will not lose track position, but a big scare after his recovery almost went fully south. We'll take another look at it. But Miranda, man, that must have been a brown pants moment. 3 wide in the middle and contact with Sanchez on the bottom.
And here you see it. Sanchez just really forcing the nose up in there. My opinion, there wasn't much space for Sanchez to kind of stick it in there, but gotta give it to Mario. One heck of a save. And if we stick with it right here, I think you might see how unhappy that 99 was on the front straightaway.
Yeah, really unhappy there with the contact from the 55, and he went right back up to Sanchez and delivered the message and saying, hey, you took my race probably away from me. I am not letting it slide. And Miranda had to fall back through the field, and he's going to end up in P12 behind Parker Bland. So this run through the top 5 going to be stalled for the moment, and Sanchez going to hold on to 4th. No calls by race control. Caution out again in the Monster Mile 170. Brendan Banks, your leader. On the other side, we'll have more coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series on Podium Esports.
Janice.
What's up, Doug? Hi, Cheryl. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
Hi guys, today me and Moose welcome to my extremely formal presentation of my 2 latest creations, the MPI Sync Chassis and the MPI Foldable Stand. When I created the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything included. What it means. So in the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything you need besides the electronics. So it has the keyboard tray, mouse tray, adjustability, TV stand, computer stand, super stiff pedal assembly, a seat that if you want, if you don't have a lot of space, you can fold it. If you have limited space, I solved your problem. The MPI wheel stand, you can use any component you want on it, and at night, fold in half, very limited space, and you can put it away. You can use your own chair, your own TV, problem solved.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Brendan Banks out in front of the Monster Mile 170. Welcome back to our coverage of race number 7, season 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series here from Dover Motor Speedway. Kenneth Bueno and Joey Atterbury with you on the call. Ryan Bauer, our producer this evening, he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We're inside the final 40 laps here in this event. Our most recent caution, Mario Miranda getting tagged by Joe Sanchez. And Joe, you talked about a bit of the drama. It's been fun. Yeah, we got to feel for Miranda and his redemption kind of being cut short. He's going to have to do a little extra work than everybody else now on the restart.
Well, you mentioned elephants earlier in the broadcast, and trust me, Mario Miranda has had one heck of a race so far. He's had to overcome a ton on the racetrack, and let me tell you, he is remembering every single little corner, including that contact.
He's going to be restarting in 11th. in row number 6. He is joined alongside by Garrett Brown, but meanwhile at the front, it's Brandon Banks, Aaron Adcock in row number 1, Joe Sanchez, Kevin Hurley back in row number 2. It's filled with Camaros. We'll see if it stays this way. Banks is taking the lead off of pit strategy. Stepien and company on fresher tires. It's a bit of a jumble on the inside, but Banks takes control with 37 laps to go.
Stepien immediately moves up top to try to get around the 25 of Kevin Hurley, but check this out. Zach Wilson in the 51 making his strategy work out for him.
He almost flirted with the outside wall and about kissed it at the exit of turn 2. Adcock sliding up the track where Joe Sanchez is, and they're going to stack up for second. A bit of a loose moment for the 23. He'll back out. Kevin Hurley making his way through, and it's a full-on pack of Hornets' nest in turns 1 and 2.
I tell you what, Brandon Banks is loving what he's seeing, but I think the 55 of Joe Sanchez is going to be the one to watch, because I feel like he is finally free and clear to go hunt down our leader.
Adcock saying a part of me wants more at this stage. Cars loose at the exit of 4. A couple of them go to the inside, but it looks like no harm, no foul. There's Miranda where he stands in his comeback effort, stalled by Isaac Mock at the exit of turn 2. Finally going to break free. Looks like they're soaring and flying at this stage. Miranda to the inside, and he'll try to look for 7th, but it's a pretty decent gap. Joey, back to that next car.
Yeah, I got to go up there and chase down Sean Kalis in the 43 in front of him. And I'm also watching Stepien up here in the 81. He's made his way up into the 4th place position, but I really feel like he's kind of settling into a groove right now. He's not necessarily going up there and chasing him like his life depends on it.
I mean, look at his face. I think confidence is the only thing that's really exuding out of this 81 right now. He knows he's quick. He knows he's one of the most dominant cars all night long. He's got no doubt in himself. He can work his way up through this top 3 and make quick work of them, make them look like a bunch of cheese slabs cut off of a grinder. There's Justin Miller. They're tapped on the inside, going to let the entire field by. And so we'll monitor this battle for second, although things have really singled out rather quickly. I think our next battle falls at around your top 15. Yes, it does. Really on the outskirts of it. Chris Pogar and Gary Sexton, the 13 and the 7 car.
And the 23 of Aaron Adcock actually just bounced off the wall coming out of turn 4 that last time around. Got a clip of him going down the front straightaway. Here's Gary Sexton in the 13 car. Has slipped back a little bit from when he was running up inside the top 6 or so. I think he took some damage repairs on that number 13.
That was the commentator's jinx. I mean, it happens with the 13. Nonetheless, still trying to...
My bad, Gary.
Logan Sturgeon here right behind him in P16. We'll keep an eye on Sexton. He's been a pretty quick car tonight for 0G. Right on board with Aaron Adcock, now hunting onto the front 2 cars. By the way, both of them for Drinkin' Bros Racing, so a bit of team domination. Now going to get split up. Here comes Adcock on the inside for P2.
Got a nice run through turns 1 and 2 here, but Joe Sanchez going to fight back on the top side with that high-end speed down the straightaway and clears him. Going into turn 3, comes down the lane in front of the 23, and ooh, 23, I think that really kind of upset the air right in front of him.
Yeah, it did. Just gave him some dirty air and then gave him clean air and just kind of unsettled the car. It might have been just an on-purpose move, but you're seeing Sanchez, as soon as Adcock goes to the bottom, he goes to that 2nd, 3rd lane almost. Does that seem to be the right method of approach here, Joey? Just because it properly takes care of the car on the inside, they can't keep that much throttle.
I think it does. I think that if you go up to the high side, you can kind of, like I said, you can be a nuisance to the car trying to make a pass on the bottom. You really carry the speed down the straightaway, which is where you need to complete the pass. But you look at the 81 of Stepien, I'm not sure if he's singing, if he's talking to his crew chief, or if he's pulling a Joe Tanto out there humming on the radio.
He might be, and he is just singing along to the demise of everybody else in this top 3 and his ultimate success. He is also, though, bringing Zach Wilson with him in P5, so you can't count out Wilson either in this fight. Stepien is not alone in this brigade. You watch behind him, there's a Toyota Camry, then a Chevy Camaro. Kevin Hurley, a little bit further back. He hasn't really said too much in this run, but it's really the 81 and the 51 we're watching at right now. As I'll tap in with Miranda just a little bit. He's in P7, but Stepien with a nice dive in the middle of the corner. And out of turn 2, might just have an opportunity to break in the door of this top 3. Can't quite get it. We'll look for the next time around.
And speaking of Miranda, he is kind of freed up into clean air. He's got nothing but racetrack between himself and Kevin Hurley, which is on the back of this lead battle as we ride on board with Aaron Adcock. Looking back at Stempien, we got another yellow flag on the racetrack. Chris Progar, heavy contact here in turn 1. Looks like also Parker Bland involved in this one. Several cars here, Kenneth.
Richard Swavely got hit by the 18 out of 4. And that is Swavely's race done for. So unfortunate for him. He was a former championship Ford driver a couple of seasons back. He's also been involved in some crashes in this race, bounced back, and now with a problem. Chris Progar, who gets right into him. Ross Harlow with a piece of damage as well. So I think, Joey, that's really big for the 5 because he had nowhere to go as Swavely was traveling and careening down the racetrack.
Yeah, you see here the 18, and I believe that's the 32 get into it off of turn number 4. And then, ooh, I saw the number 4 come flying in there, get a piece of it in the end as well. And it's a self-cleaning racetrack, but when you're going these speeds, the cars just slide forever.
And it's so easy as well to do what Parker Bland just did, where you want to get out of that outside wall, or the car just steps out just a little bit. We'll ride on board with Harlow, who was further back from this crash, but ultimately had nowhere to go at the end of it. He goes all the way down and just no space as Swavely gets hit by Progar and then comes back down the track. But for the 18, just get a little bit loose, you come down the track, and there's minimal space between yourself and the driver down there. So it's just nothing but straight contact as it looks like leaders are hitting pit road. Brandon Banks and company have come in, but so has Stempien, and everyone else might be a pivotal pit stop with 23 laps to go.
Let's watch the race off of pit road. Remember, Stempien came in 4th. What does he leave in? There goes 1, there goes 2. Looks like he might restart 3rd on this one.
Yeah, he's got the advantage over Aaron Adcock. That looked rather close between the two, but another position gained for Stempien, and he's going to be on the inside of row number 2 when we get this next restart. So Stempien, who has led the most laps tonight by far, who has been one of the best drivers here in this race, now back in the hunt with Joe Sanchez and Brandon Banks commanding the field. You got to tip your hat, though, to Banks and Sanchez, the quick work they've been able to make after staying out on an alternate strategy and being up at the front and holding their ground as DBR teammates will try and talk with your leader right now, Brandon Banks, who will be in control of the next restart at around 20 laps remaining. Here we have Brandon in our Podium Esports broadcast booth. Brandon, you have definitely been no slouch. You've been very quick after that alternative strategy. Walk us through how you got here and how you're feeling at this stage of the race.
Yeah, I mean, we had a good call there, I think, at the end of stage 2 to get the track position. I did lose some stage points, but I really need to kind of get a win in this league, so we had to try to do something a little bit different than everybody else, and got the track position. I would kind of wish that thing would have went long. I was really good on the long run, but we'll see what we can do here. We're gonna have to kind of get it going and not really save too much here. We're gonna have to go.
And you and Sanchez have been pretty much prominent at the front of the field. Does it give you a little more assurance knowing that you have a teammate kind of behind you? You guys get to work together on the restarts?
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be beside me. Hopefully he can kind of get up in line right here behind me and we can get going. But yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe he can play a blocker a little bit there for me. Yeah, Stempien's really fast, and Mario seems to be right back in it again. So we got some good guys behind us. So we'll see what happens. You know, I think after about 15 to 20, I was better than a lot of them. So hopefully we can stay green here, and we'll see what happens.
How big would a win like this mean for you after the first one for DBR could be this season, and obviously to you a playoff-bound entry if you can get it?
That's huge. Like I said, it's very hard to win in this league. These guys are really, really good. I mean, so I mean, just getting even one win in this league is a feat of just, you know. So it's, you know, we'll see. It's still a long way to go. Still got maybe 20 to go here, and like I said, these guys are really fast. So gonna have to kind of go and just hope that hope it sticks, and we'll see what happens.
All right, you've got your teammate with you in the first row, ready for the green flag. We'll let you get back out there. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Brandon Banks, your leader right now, and obviously I'd say that having Joe Sanchez alongside you, Joey, is really good because you get to have that teammate cooperative effort. You get to kind of count down on the restarts, and like he said, kind of play a little bit of blocker on Zach Wilson, Steven Stempien, those in row number 2.
I agree, and if I'm looking at one of the more aggressive cars on the racetrack, I'm looking at the 55. So if you're looking to play teammate games, who better to have lined up with you than Joe Sanchez?
And by the way, like the number 54 Banks said, the 99 of Miranda, he's all of a sudden back in this game in P5 inside of row number 3. So the fight is not out of the dog for certain. Miranda still looking for a win here from the place that he has called a successful one since season 4. Pace car is down, exit turn 4, green flag with 20 laps to go.
Really good launch from our leader once again, but Stempien crucially side by side with Zach Wilson entering turn number 1, but I think the 51 is going to have the run coming off a 2.
The 51 skyrockets out of 2, now gets a run on the 55, will challenge for second, so he'll break the DBR 1-2 race for a while, and he'll stay on the bottom. Sanchez with some proper defense. Here comes Stempien on the outside to fill the space.
He's going to try to box down Wilson on the low groove. A little bit of deja vu, flip-flop the positions for the 51 and the 81, this time coming off a turn 2.
Been really tough to make passes on the inside here at Dover, and that was a prime example of it. Wilson had to really back out, couldn't keep the throttle in it, and now he is pressured from both sides of the floor. Had that 81 and the 25 right on the outside of him. Now Miranda challenges for the bottom. He'll surge into the top 5 once more, and they're all single file. Sanchez holding the fort for second, stepping a little bit harder of a route now to the front spot.
This is looking good for the 54 of Brandon Banks out front. We're coming to 17 laps to go. Got a teammate between himself and the closest previous winner.
No Gloria Estefan, but it's a sweet escape for Brandon Banks right now as he'll cross the line. Next time by for 16 laps to go. There's a look on board with Stempien in the 81. You can see how hard he's working the wheel right now. Turns 3 and 4, still trying to catch up to Sanchez and company. The last time by was a little bit slower, 23 flat. Well, they said 22 nines, but it looks like now flip-flop. Banks at a 23 flat. Sanchez and Stempien at 22 nines. And then Zach Wilson just kind of falling in the clutches of Miranda. We might have a battle for 4th on our hands in a little bit.
And Kenneth, those lap times you're reading out, those are lap times on lap 155. Those are qualifying times that they're putting down.
Yeah, they're really quick. And Banks talked about it as well, Joey, in that interview under caution. He said, we're just going to push all the way to the end. It just looks like at this stage, now with 15 laps to go, there is no conservatism in anyone in this field. If you have a spot that's open, you're going to take it no matter what. And that goes for anyone in this top 5, whether it be for good points going into the next race in Kansas, or whether it be a win to alter your playoff route. Here comes Miranda to the inside of Wilson for 4th.
Yeah, trying to take advantage on the underside of turns 1 and 2, but the 51 going to fight back down the back straightaway. Here comes Miranda down low in 3 and 4, slides up the racetrack just a little bit, but it's going to be neck and neck off of 4.
Speaking of a driver, behind the wheels, Wilson gets turned by Miranda into turn 1. Wilson goes up the track, caution is out. And drama at an all-time high. Logan Sturgeon involved as well.
This is a tough one, and we could sit here and look at the blimp all we want, and man, this is just 2 cars battling hard down the straightaway. Does the 51 come down? Does the 91 come, or does 99 come up? I don't know.
Unbelievable. The 2 tussling for 4th rather. In this second pack of cars behind your top 3. Wilson just types in the chat, well then, that's Logan Sturgeon, unfortunately getting caught up in the mess. The unlucky driver, he is disconnected. Way too much damage on his car to repair. And it's hard to assess blame here, Joey. Here's a look on board from Sturgeon.
You know, it is tough to assess blame, and I think the only thing that we can potentially do is just look straight down the front straightaway from that turn 1 camera to see if the 51 came down or if the 99 came up, and let's see what happens here. I mean, that's so close, Kenneth. I think maybe the 51 edged down just a little bit, but I mean, he was literally scraping the wall up there.
Yeah, it's really tough to really decide who's at fault here. I mean, both of them really going at it, and Wilson, it will be his 2nd straight crashed race after Talladega where he disconnected and ended up finishing 32nd. Wilson, it looks like he's not going to be fully out of this race, but it really is going to take him for a ride. And Mario Miranda removed from the server by race control. And that is race over for the Tulsa, Oklahoma native. He will not go 3 in a row here at the Monster Mile.
That was a tough one. I'm a little speechless over here. You know, you never want to see a wreck like that end anybody's race, especially so late in the race. But man, Kenneth, if you were to ask me, trying to be not biased at all over here, I think that was a little bit of a racing incident.
It was really tough, and it's so close to call. I mean, when you're going downhill on the straightaway, I mean, you have not that much space when you're going side by side, and Miranda was just trying to side draft. It's just hard racing between the two, and it's unfortunate contact. And for Wilson, he is still on pit road trying to get his car repaired. He is 30th on the racetrack, will fall 3 laps down, and that leaves us with 26 cars on the lead lap. It looks like we've got word from Dakota Curtis that it is the 3rd cause of caution for Miranda, so he is listed as out. Miranda will have to wait out and see what happens at Kansas next week on May 7th. So drama only building up, and guess who's in the top 5 now, Joey? The 16 of Garrett Brown. Have we talked about him all night? I don't think we have after starting 11.
No, I don't think we have. There's actually a few names here inside the top 10 that we haven't mentioned much. I mean, I know we've talked about Kevin Hurley, but something we haven't mentioned about the 25 is he's 30 positions.
Yeah, it's really been an awesome night, and really here with at the end of this race, you're looking at these drivers who had fallen back, had some problems, and now all of a sudden they're back in the fight. One of those, Garrett Brown, started 11th, now inside the top 5 in this home stretch here from Dover. We'll talk to Garrett. And Garrett, I can imagine the feeling must be good. You were hanging around this race all night long. Now you've got a chance to strike top 5 with 9 laps left.
Yeah, trying to just manage the race. I'm trying to manage the tires on the get-go. If you get them too hot early, it'll bite you for quite a bit of the run, but now it's time to go get it.
You've got a challenging top 4 in front of you. Stempien, Hurley, Banks, and Sanchez. Is there anything in mind that you have, or are you just going to try and keep this nose clean for the next couple of laps?
I'm mainly trying to keep the nose clean. Sometimes I can get good runs on exit. The cars are pretty unstable if you're side by side, so if there's a mistake, I'm going to try to pounce. I'm not going to try to send anything 3 wide or get too aggressive, so protect a little bit, but keep an eye ready to pounce.
Well, it's been a great run so far, Garrett. It's been awesome to see. We'll let you get back to it on the restart. Best of luck.
10-4. Thank you, fellas.
That's Garrett Brown, one of the drivers for Prestige Worldwide Racing on the inside of row number 3. Boy, has it been a fantastic run. Also have to give credit to Joseph Mahar in the 46. Boy, have we seen him in trouble so many times tonight, and he is still in this race, and with a possibility at some fantastic points going into Kansas 1 week from tonight. Pace cars down, 8 laps to go in our final stretch. Could this be the last restart we see tonight from the Monster Mile 170? Early jump by the DBR teammates. We're back under green.
Good jump by the teammates, like you were saying, and crucially, Stempien clears Hurley here, but 25 actually fighting back on the top side. The 81's got to scoot up, take that lane away. The 81 now officially in this race.
The 16 and the 46 both side by side for make it P5, and they're going to bring in Gary Sexton. What a progression it's been for that Ford Mustang. Sexton quietly moving through the field. Here comes Stempien. Challenge on the inside for P2 in turn 1.
I think Stempien realizes he doesn't have much time left. If he's going to go up here and win this thing like he wants to, he's got to go now.
He's got to be aggressive, but Sanchez is giving him everything that he's got. He is really trying to keep that 81 at bay. They're going to reel in the 25 of Hurley, and all the while letting Banks run away 4/10 of a second with 6 laps to go.
It's exactly what Stempien didn't want, as Sanchez on the top side exiting turn 2. Oh, some fender banging going down the back straightaway.
We're going to make contact. Sanchez noses ahead in the middle of the corner. Stempien with a bit of drafting help from the 25, and they remain deadlocked for P2. It's now 7/10 of a second between Sanchez and the 54, Brandon Banks. Inside 5 laps to go, Joey. The 81 is running out of time.
Yeah, and the 54 out front is loving what he is seeing in his rearview mirrors. The longer Sanchez and Stempien battle it out, the more Banks can run away.
And Kevin Hurley just backed out of this fight. He's now side by side with Garrett Brown, making a 3-car train. And around your top 5, or at least the back end of it, Warren, Kyle, Keith, and Joseph Maher now tussling for 7th. But Brandon Banks, the biggest storyline, pulling away. It's now almost a second. And Sanchez defends home court, stays in P2.
Yeah, crucially keeps Stempien behind him. And I'm not going to say his name, but I see him creeping up into the top 5.
Look at Gary Sexton defending a whole group of cars. The 0G Ford Mustang now tangling here inside the top 5. Stempien with another attempt at second.
Big run going down into turn 3. I don't think he's going to have the room to clear it up off of turn 4. Sanchez with another great defense.
And they make contact, and they almost about crash together. That 81 and the 55 putting on a show here in Dover, Delaware. Garrett Brown just behind this group, going to make it a 3-car fight for second. Brandon Banks will look next time by for the white flag.
He sees that white flag from Barney the Flagman, and I tell you what, all Brandon's got to do is keep it clean one more time.
Stempien has been arguably the most dominant car all night long. He is trying his best to best the 55. And Sanchez, they make contact on the back straightaway, and they'll scatter across the track. But it's the 54 of Brandon Banks on an alternate call to the win. Brandon Banks gets the first win for DBR in the Sunoco Cup Series Season 6.
Stempien crosses the line second, and what a run from Garrett Brown, bringing it home third.
Garrett Brown with a beautiful last run. But it is Brandon Banks becoming the 6th different winner in the Sunoco Cup Series Season 6 campaign. It's the first one for Drinkin' Bros Racing, and that's what he told me, Joey, on that interview. He told us he was going to try his best to get this win and just push in that last stint, and push he did. And you have to give credit to Sanchez, all the defense that he had put up, but the 54 of Brandon Banks going to relish in his first win of the season, and he will bring us tonight's Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance racing engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined. For over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling the top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. It's fueling victories to the 54 with his first one of the season, and becomes the 3rd different winner in the last 3 races. We haven't seen anyone repeat. Stempien, Adcock, Banks in your last 3, all of them taking their first win of the season, and Banks becomes the most recent. What a run by the 54 of Banks, who makes it a DBR win here from the Monster Mile. Steven Stempien, despite all of his attempts to get to second, he does, but he doesn't get to the win in what was a fantastic race for the 0G car. Garrett Brown pulled off a late race comeback to end up inside your top 3. We'll talk to all 3 of them before we end our coverage tonight. Gary Sexton, I know he was commentator's curse a little bit earlier tonight, but he's since bounced back. He ends up in 4th. Warren Kyle Keith with a great run as well, ends up in 5th. How about the fight from Jesse Whittington in the 94? Up and down all race long. And here's where he ends up, P6 at the checkered flag. Kevin Hurley is 7th. 8th will go to Joe Sanchez, who had fought Stempien for so long in a great race for P2. Isaac Mock ends up in 9th, and rounding out your top 10 is Justin Erb in the 20.
Here in 11th, we have Joseph Maher. And then a big race for Parker Bland in that number 18 car, up 25 positions. Remember, we talked to Parker pre-race. He said he's got no speed, almost came home with the top 10. Casey Knighton here in 13th. Chris Shoemaker comes home 14th. Bill Schoonover with a top 15. Ryan Kendall, 16th place. Sean Kalis, 17th. Aaron Adcock, we saw him run up front quite a bit today, finishes 18th. Brad Fulham, 19th, and Austin Shoemaker with 20th position.
21st will go to Dakota Curtis. 22nd to the other Dakota in this race, Dakota Wilson. Justin Winters ends this race in 23rd. 24th will go to Charles Phelps in the 75. 25th to Judd Danielson in the 85 machine. He's the last car on the lead lap tonight. Keep easily the first one lap down or more in 26. 27 will go to Alex Muscarella, who had a great race to start, but unfortunately just kind of unfolded near the end. Dustin Reeves is in 28. Justin Miller is 29th. Rounding out your top 30 is the 99 of Mario Miranda, who got removed from the race after the contact with Zach Wilson.
And then you see the rest here. Zach Wilson, several laps down, as well as Chris Progar. The rest either DNFs or got knocked out. Ross Harlow ran up front the majority of the race. See here Richard Swavely, Wyatt Brackett, Lawson Peel, Ray Rogers, Travis Stevenson, Colin Forrester. Honestly, Kenneth, there's a lot of names that got knocked out there at the end that were running up front at one point today.
Yeah, a lot of great drivers. Obviously, Miranda, Wilson, and you look at Colin Forrester, his strength in the first stage. Lawson Peel the same way, and Wyatt Brackett. Richard Swavely would pull off a fantastic comeback. Ross Harlow, I mean, the list goes on. So many of those with unfortunate endings here from the Monster Mile. Ultimately, they got crunched by Miles the Monster, but it's the 54 who gets to topple Dover here tonight. And with that, we'll bring in the driver of the 54 on his first win of the season. Brandon, I have to talk to you because especially after the interview that we had with you under caution, you said you were going to full push. You had your teammate Joe Sanchez with you, still looking for your first win on strategy. It all works out. What are your thoughts right now?
I'm pumped, man. It's very hard to get a win in here. I don't think this is probably my first win in here. Yeah, just to get that monkey off my back of getting one and holding off these guys. Like I said, they're so fast every week. So just to get one, it's crazy. But yeah, like I said, I think that strategy call, getting out front with that clean air was really huge. And like I said, with this thing out front, man, it was a rocket ship out front. So I kind of gave up some stage points, like I said, and had to kind of risk it because I think I really needed to get a win to get some good position in the playoffs going forward. So worked out. I kind of see it. I don't know what happened there with Joe. I know him and Stimpian might have got together. I had to go back and look at it, but kind of hoping for a 1-2 finish there. But we'll see what happened there. But yeah, just pumped. I'm trying to get one of these things for a while now, and finally got it.
And after starting 8th, you had been kind of hanging around the mid-pack and somewhat through the top 10. You had some great views of what had happened in front of you and everything that developed through this race. How is it like to just transition then from hanging in the mid-pack, trying to adjust your car every single lap through the first 2 stages, and then just having it all unravel there in the last stage where you had the lead on that strategy with Sanchez and you just ran away with it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew we were really good after about 25 laps. We were steady, kind of moving back up through the field, and I really wanted to see that thing go long at the end. I think it would have been. I think I could have got to him. Stimpian was really fast. So I'm not really sure. We didn't get going long enough to really find out, but I really think that the car was really good after 25. So made me kind of nervous there, trying to hold him off there, and with Joe holding him off there and racing Stimpian like he did. Yeah, so it was just it was easy there at the end. Just hit my marks and just kind of pulled away there.
13th last week at Talladega, now P1 here from Dover. How much a week changes where your points racing, now you're not having to worry about it. So how much of a relief is it this time that you've got this win and now you get to focus towards the playoffs and maybe bring some of your DBR teammates with you in that run for the championship?
No, it's huge. Like I said, it's hard to even get one. So just to have that's amazing. And with me missing Richmond earlier in the season there, which is one of my better tracks, it just kind of put me back in the points. And I think we're on the verge of being in. But with this win, this kind of makes it nice. So kind of can go into next couple of races. Got Darlington and I think Kansas and things like that coming up. So we've got some really good tracks for DBR. Loss is going to be good at probably all of them. So say get in there and practice with him and try to get him to teach us a little bit of something, and we'll see what we can do. So hopefully we can get all of us in the playoffs and make another run at the championship.
Hey, a little bit of bragging rights. You're the first DBR driver out of your teammates to win this season, so you get to hang that over their heads. But I know you'd love to have them in the playoffs too, and to run and be successful all the way to the end. Brandon, on behalf of our entire team at Podium Esports, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. A big congratulations on winning the Monster Mile 170. We'll let you continue the celebration. We'll let you beat the monster for a little bit, and we'll see you at Kansas in 1 week. Congratulations again.
All right, thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
That's Brandon Banks, winner tonight from Dover Motor Speedway. On to the driver who comes home second. Steven Stepien tried his hardest and ends up with a podium. And Joey Atterbury, you're caught up with him.
Yeah, Steven, I know that you're one step shy of where you want to be, but you still got to be happy with second place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super happy for Brandon. I mean, I was teammates with him last season. He's a great dude and great teammate that I had last season. So I'm super happy for him. You know, I told him that as soon as me and Joe got racing, I was like, well, he's gonna sail off and win, and I'm okay with that. You know, it is what it is.
Well, talk us through that battle that you had the last handful of laps with Joe. It seemed like the top end on the high line was just holding you off. It was choking you coming up off of turn 2. What did you need to complete that pass?
Honestly, I think I needed him to slip up a little bit sooner. We were just so neck and neck. You know, every lap. I mean, I tried. You know, try racing him clean. You know, sorry we got into it a little bit. I didn't really think it was, you know, malicious by any means. Just good racing there. Yeah, I mean, I was trying everything. I was trying to send it in and using a little bit of the brake going in to stay on the bottom and try to get by him, but just couldn't at that high line. Had the good run. I'm happy with P2, man.
I would be happy with P2 as well. I know you're frustrated over there. I know it's a little disappointing. I really thought that you were the car to beat all night, and it was kind of impressive to see Joe Sanchez battle you so hard there at the end. I really thought that you were just going to go up there and walk away with this one, but I got to give you props. I thought that you guys put on some fantastic racing today, Steven.
I appreciate that, man. You know, it was fun. I had a good time. Like I said to you guys earlier, I love this place. You know, I got the pole. I got some good stage points. I'm happy for Brandon. You know, like I said, he's a good dude, man. If anybody's gonna get a win, I'm glad it was him. And you know, just unfortunate that had to happen with Joe. I was hoping that we could have finished 1, 2, 3 there to end it, but I know he's kind of upset with me. But I didn't. No hard feelings, man. I didn't mean to, you know, get him loose or whatever. But
well, from the commentator's perspective up here, I thought it was pretty clean racing. Yeah, there was some rubbing, but it was also the last lap for a second place position. And before I let you go, anybody you want to say hi to?
Obviously, gotta give you guys a shout out for the fantastic job that you guys do week in and week out. Shout out to my teammates out there at 0G. You know, feel bad for Dakota. He got into. You know, had some bad luck tonight, but Gary was up there in the top 10, and you know, Mario was there for a little bit. But you know, shout out to them, shout out to everybody at the league, the admins for giving me a chance to run here for the second season. I appreciate them, the work they do, and you know, shout out to my beautiful wife out there. She's just went to work a little bit ago. My baby boy's sleeping right now, and shout out to my dad, always watching every weekend and week out. I'll see you guys next week at Darlington. I'm pretty pumped for that. I had a win last season at Darlington, so hopefully can make a repeat. We'll see.
Well, it's Kansas and then
Darlington.
Yeah, Kansas, yes. Then Darlington.
Yeah, Kansas, I had top 5. So either way, we got some good tracks coming up.
Well, Steven, I think you had the fastest car, and you come home second here. Congrats once again.
I appreciate it, guys. You guys take care. Have a good week.
All right, so that is Steven Stepien lining it up in P2. We'll have the chance to talk with the last driver in our top 3, and that is Garrett Brown. So, Garrett, it all comes full circle. We talked to you prior to one of those last 3 starts, and here you are, top 3 here in the Best Buy machine. How good does it feel to get a podium tonight?
It's good, man. I felt like our team had to battle through a lot, and we all kind of moved our way forward towards the end. Most of us did. Man, it felt good to just pick my spot and had a little battle on the restart, got clear of, 5th through 8th, and then was able to kind of watch Stepien and Sanchez go at it. And when Sanchez got loose, I had to pounce and drove her up to 3rd. So definitely a good night, successful night.
And obviously, I can imagine full push in those last couple of laps. Did you find any difficulties running the inside? Because it just felt like really tough to make passes here at Dover on the bottom, but you were able to dial it up so quickly and so efficiently.
Yeah, that was spot on. It was tough. My car felt good at the end. It felt as good as it had all night. I had a little trouble early in the race. I would get loose when I was trying to run the bottom, but it was pretty dialed in. I was just managing the throttle, and car stayed under me, so I was able to get by Hurley on the inside, get by Mahar, and then Sanchez got a little loose little net code or contact with Stympian, and so car felt pretty good on the inside, but it was tough. You had to manage the throttle. So
well, nonetheless, a lot of great work in that last run. You end up finishing in the top 3. Really good momentous run here as we get to the final races of the regular season. Kansas, Darlington, Charlotte, Gateway, Watkins Glen, Daytona up next. What's the thoughts, and how are you going to try to approach all those next couple of races?
It should be a real fun stretch of the schedule. Those are all good tracks. It should be entertaining for you guys. They'll all be racy. Darlington's always a challenge, and Watkins Glen road course is tough, but it's a pretty friendly road course where it can get racy and people can have good nights. But it's a fun stretch of the schedule coming up. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some new winners, some new people lock themselves into the playoffs. So we'll be shooting for that. Brandon Banks had a good run tonight and locked himself in, and he deserved it. He was fast, man. But I could see some more new winners. I think it's going to be entertaining. A lot of good races. Kansas is pretty good in these cars, so.
Well, it certainly is going to be a lot of fun. Maybe we end up seeing your name here in the wins list pretty soon enough. Garrett, a fantastic run on behalf of our entire team at Podium Esports. Congratulations on the podium, and best of luck at Kansas next week.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Prestige Worldwide Racing's Garrett Brown in the 16 ends up wrapping up the top 3 here from Dover Motor Speedway. Joey, an amazing race. I think near the end, you can't underestimate that battle for second between Steven Stympian and Joe Sanchez, but ultimately came down to strategy for the win. We saw so many drivers split on their decisions, and at that point, Brandon Banks held on. Sanchez, I'd call him the Defensive Player of the Year. Unbelievable job. DBR gets their first win of the season.
I think it's one of the reasons why we love strategy races so much, or I should say why some people love strategy races so much, is that it gives opportunities to the field to go up and knock off that top contender. We saw Steven Stympian be the fastest car all night long, but he wasn't the one who came home with the win. It was ultimately Brandon Banks pulling off an alternate strategy, stealing it away from that 81.
He becomes the 6th different winner here in the Sunoco Cup Series season, and ultimately with what we've seen over the last 3 races, Joey, we might just see another one in Kansas. Kansas has been a great track to race on in the sim, a lot of high line action, and maybe some low line action as well. Are there any thoughts you have prior to next week's race?
I love Kansas myself. I got a trophy from Kansas Speedway sitting right over here next to me from my days, and I love that place. Some alternate banking over there. I think it's going to provide some good 1.5 mile racing.
It's going to be a lot of fun in 1 week time. Tune in May 7th, 9 p.m. Eastern here on Podium Esports. We'll have the coverage all for you as we continue our run through the regular season and up until playoff time. Brandon Banks wins for the first time this season here at Dover Motor Speedway and grabs the Monster Mile 170. Big thank you to Dakota Curtis and all the admins at the Sunoco Cup Series for making this league possible, and for everybody at Podium Esports, for Gary Sexton and John Theodore, and for our broadcast team tonight, our producer Ryan Bauer, our camera creator Dougie Beard, and of course for my colleague in the booth Joey Atterbury. My name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long from Monster Mile. Congratulations to Brandon Banks once again. We'll see you in America's Heartland, Kansas Speedway, 1 week from tonight.